All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. We're glad you're with us. This is a joint meeting between the Gainesville City Commission and the Alachua County Board of Commissioners. So we're going to call order, and our first order of business is to adopt our agenda. We've got two items on our agenda today. Is there a motion from any city commissioners?
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second that we adopt our agenda. All in favor say aye. All opposed? That motion passes. Over to you, Madam Chair.
All right.
Welcome.
Thank you. We're glad to be here. All right, commissioners, do I have a motion to adopt the agenda? All right, motion and a second.
Second.
All right, a motion and a second to adopt the agenda. All in favor? All right. I would say too that Commissioner Chestnut is on his way and maybe a little bit late, you all.
Okay, very good. And
Madam Chair,
he can sit at either end. Yeah.
We can separate
There is a
the
nameplate
two.
down there. Yeah.
Madam Chair, I meant to bring up, I am going to bring up something at commission comment that I want to add. It's nothing I need to add to the agenda, but I just want to let you know that.
All right, thank you, sir.
Okay, yeah, we, at least on our agenda, we have member comment at the end.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, we will take up our first item, which is an update on the central receiving facility. Excited to have you here.
Good afternoon, Chairman Wheeler and Mayor Poe. I'm Carl Smart. I'm Deputy County Manager for Alachua County. And we're excited about bringing you an update and timeline on the central receiving facility. There's been a lot of work put in on this particular project. In a lot of ways, I think Gainesville and Alachua County is so far ahead of the curve and already dealing with mental health and behavioral health type issues. We've got the crisis center that does so much. We have co-responder teams working with law enforcement. We have mobile response team. We've done a lot with mental health first aid training for employees and staff. And so in a lot of ways, we're way ahead. But this is an opportunity for us to bring something more, something that will be a diversion program for those persons experiencing mental health crises. Instead of taking them to jail, a lot of time law enforcement is able to drop them off at a central receiving facility where they'll get attention, they'll get treatment, they'll get referrals. And so we're excited about bringing this together. There's been a lot of collaborative effort, city and county, but also with our law enforcement agencies, with the criminal justice system, with behavior systems, just a lot of people working together to help make this happen and get it to this point. So we have today an update. It'll be coming from with county and city. We'll start, I think, with Stuart Wegener and Phil Mann are going to come up and talk about where we are as far as background and status of the program. And then we have representatives here today from Meridian who's going to talk specifically about funding and timeline for getting the facility constructed. So with that, I'll ask Phil Mann. Come on.
All right, thank you, Mr. Smart. Appreciate that. Welcome, Mr. Mann.
Mr. Mayor, Madam Chair, it's a great pleasure that we're here to give this presentation today. The City Commission has given $500,000 for this project in addition to getting the state allocation of $497,000. And I cannot stand up here in good faith without recognizing Chief Jones, wherever he's at, who was in here, for all the hard work he's done behind the scenes to help us get this project going. There he is. To get this project going on the city side. And with that, I'll turn it over to Stuart.
All right. Welcome, Mr. Wagner.
Thank you. Good afternoon, both commissions. Thank you, Phil, for that introduction, and Carl as well. This has indeed been a cross-system collaboration, city, county, private sector, behavioral health, the justice system. You'll see a little bit more evidence of that as we go along. But thank you for having this update today, and we'll talk a little bit about the timeline to make it all happen. So let me move on with, let's see, there we go. So what is the central receiving system? We thought even though you've had a number of meetings, thought it was useful just to kind of go over it a bit. Single point of entry for behavioral health crisis care for assessment, triage, stabilization, intervention, and coordination. It will be serving both adults and children. It will be providing appropriate placement for those who come needing crisis care and coming in at very different levels. They may need immediate crisis and stabilization, and their route may end up being directed to a CSU, Crisis Stabilization Unit. It may be somebody that after a short period of time of assessment, and I'll go on and talk a little bit about assessment time frame, they will be appropriate more for a warm handoff to a behavioral health, primary behavioral health provider that they already have in the community. So it will be serving people at various levels of need. It's a law enforcement drop-off, very quick drop-off. Family members can bring individuals in needing care, caregivers, those who are in crisis, and individuals can self-refer, walk in by themselves. This will be a locus for people to be served coming from law enforcement who are in need of an involuntary examination due to the Baker-Marchman Act. The BOCC, the county BOCC, voted on May 10th to co-locate the crisis receiving system on the campus of our licensed public and private psychiatric receiving facility with a CSU that is Meridian Behavioral Health Care. Here today to talk a little bit about the operational side and the timeline. Capital funds were awarded to them. Let me speak a little bit about the assessment stage. Assessments under state law are required to be accomplished within 24 hours, definitely under 23. For youth, under 12 hours. The Orlando CRS experience is that people are served under 8 to 10 hours. They have their assessment fully complete. For the Appalachia Center in Tallahassee, which we went and visited as part of our fact-finding experience, their assessment range is really, their point is now 3 hours assessed or less. So it's a very quick time frame. And services are available on a 24-hour, 7-day, 360-day basis. That's some of the reason for some of the cost. Both children and youth as well as adults, and then round-the-clock care for crisis intervention. So how did we get here? How did we get to this point? And Carl alluded to the fact that this has been such a broad-scale collaboration. You can see up there on the screen the wide scale, the wide variety of institutions and organizations. The county, the sheriff's office, GPD, UFPD, the judicial circuit, as well as the state's attorney, the public defender, Lutheran Services of Florida, the managing entity for our Northeast region, Meridian as well. We've had UF Health as well as North Florida involved, Malcolm Randall VA, and then also NAMI Gainesville chapter. One of the things that we have used as a vehicle is the Public Safety Coordinating Council, which is created 11 years, actually 1998, now that I realize it. And the PFCC is charged with addressing jail overcrowding, but serves another number of functions and monitors not only that issue, but meets several times a year. They created a subcommittee on oversight, which actually was to address this issue as well as watch over and monitor our Justice and Mental Health Collaboration Grant Program. So that subcommittee had 11 separate meetings that addressed the CRS, and then the PSCC itself considered this issue 4 times, in addition to the level of attention that you all have provided at both of your bodies. So the advantages and benefits, very quickly: increased quality and coordination of care. Many of the folks who need this care coming in are indigent and have they use multiple systems. This is a way to streamline the point at which they enter the system. There is, and there's a saying in the state, actually it's state law, there's a model called the no wrong door. And this model, the CRS model, hews to that, goes parallel to that same concept. This also reduces trauma for those in crisis and family. They don't have to go to multiple sites. And then they also we also engineer reduced ER visits. There's documented hospital cost savings based on the experience of 9 central receiving facilities in Florida since I think 2017, based after about a 3-year or 4-year fiscal year experience. These systems served 43,000 unduplicated individuals, saved $51 million in unnecessary hospital costs, and diverted 8,000 individuals. So it's a system that does work and responds to need and is very effective in addressing a wide variety of issues. Let's move on to the budget, the finances. There are 2 pieces here. The identified capital costs for renovation and new construction at Meridian's flagship site down on Southwest 13th. There's a need of $1.5 million. This has been identified through architectural drawings, and there are now formal cost estimates for construction that have been identified. The sources of funding committed to this date, Phil commented the county, Phil commented on the city at 500, the county also 500, and then the legislative budget request that you all made, that the city made through GPD, basically has been a wonderful addition to this at $500,000, and that was approved in the last budget cycle. So there's now funds to reach that goal. Next item is the operations. There's an identified budget of $2.5 million for operating costs for this in gross terms. Lutheran Services, the managing entity, has come up with $500,000 in their funds to be able, in state funds, to be able to allocate toward operations. And then backing out from that overall gross cost is the contribution that's anticipated based on Meridian's review and based on the experience of the other central receiving systems throughout the state that have been operational. There's a demonstrated experience of that level of funds, $800,000. About $200,000 of that is $200 to $300 is for is from the state's low-income pool. That's for what hospitals and other healthcare organizations receive for uncompensated care for individuals who are indigent or underinsured, uninsured or underinsured. And then the remainder is largely expected from Medicaid. So following up, it's been the county's determination to commit $1.75 million in American Rescue Plan dollars. That will be fully addressed and finally addressed at the board's meeting later this month on August 23rd. We're required to submit a performance plan report as well as a recovery plan to the Department of Treasury. That is going to, so that's a formal commitment at that point. That will provide, we think, at this point, based on estimates, $1.75 million to support 18 months of operation. Depends on startup as well, but that's the best estimates we have, and you'll hear from Meridian in a little bit on that note. I am going to turn this over to Tom Tonkovich, This is of Community Support Services, fellow county agency. This within the county, this has been kind of a balancing act between the two organizations, and I will yield the floor to him. Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Tom Tonkovich, Assistant Director at Community Support Services. And, Stuart, did you walk away with that? I walked away. Could you just advance it one slide? I can. I'm going to just touch briefly on sustainability. I think as Stuart outlined for you, we're expecting that there will be an operating deficit with the CRS. And the short-term plan, of course, as you heard, is to use the ARPA funds to try to cover that for about the first 15, 18 months. Strategy being, at least in the county discussions, stand the facility up, get it operational, demonstrate, document the need for it, and then hopefully we think the best path forward is for the state to pick up the operating support. And we made that recommendation to the county, as you heard Stuart say, the county board selected Meridian as the provider of the CRS. And excuse me, lost my train of thought here. With the long-term goal that we would be able to obtain state funding to meet that operating deficit. The last thing that I want to share with you is that we have been working with the county attorney's office, and we have sent 2 contracts over to Meridian 2 weeks ago for their review. The first one is on the operating side, and then also the other one is on the capital side. And we hope to bring those back to the county board within the next month or so for execution. So if you don't have any questions for me, I'll turn it over to Lauren, who will wrap this up.
Great, thank you, Tom. Hold on, do you have a question?
Sorry.
Commissioner Sacco?
Quick, as far as the state's amount of support to those, didn't push my button, it's been a while. As far as the support that the state provides to those other centers, do you know the number per like the amount per center that they provide? Is it in the ballpark of what we're asking, or is it, astronomically more or less?
I'm going to maybe defer that to Stuart. I think that they've all been funded at a level that's around sort of $2 million. Okay. But some of that there's a local match included. For instance, the Appalachia program up in Leon County and surrounded by 6 counties. They have a match that's coming in from a local share. So it's a combination of funding. I don't know if that answers your question.
It does.
That's not fully state funds.
Okay, I was just concerned of, we're asking for this amount. Is that the normal amount that's asked? Is it going to, bulge some eyeballs when they see the request? But it seems to be roughly in the ballpark.
I believe it is roughly. Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cornell?
Just in response to Commissioner Sacco, so, this is a big step that we're making, a big commitment. And I really, really appreciate the city putting in the appropriation request. We're kind of putting in the ARPA funds. It's a real partnership, but ultimately we're providing that working capital for a year and a half. And we're going to have to prove to the state that this facility, hopefully we could get some community partners, our hospitals, on board, similar to throughout the state, how other places are kind of working. But we're kind of taking that step. And I think it's a huge step, and it's something that I think we need to do. But ultimately, we're going to be, once we're up and running, hopefully in a position to go back to the state and say, here's what the other facilities are doing, here's what we're doing, and, put us in that recurring funding stream going forward. I think that's kind of our goal. And so it's a great question, but ultimately, I think the ask is not one time. It's going to be an ongoing ask into the future.
Hi, I'm Lauren Cohn. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Meridian Behavioral Healthcare. Thank you so much for having us here today. I'm going to pick up here. Okay, so what we've done is draft a tentative facility plan, which would add approximately 6,000 square feet, as well as renovating the existing 2,000 square feet for use in the central receiving facility. So we've presented this draft and worked with various architects to kind of look at the feasibility and the cost of this project, which is how we arrived at the budget. Part of that facility design includes a 24/7 welcoming reception area and a walk-in entrance. It also includes comfortable waiting areas and additional space to accommodate multiple clients awaiting triage and those clients that bring their loved ones, their families, children and families, to be able to wait for that assessment in a comfortable space. We also have included a dedicated law enforcement entrance. So that entrance includes 2 sally ports for law enforcement and EMT to be able to seamlessly arrive, drop off a client, and get back to the work that they are doing. So that's part of the facility design. We are working on securing those community partnerships with HCA North Florida and UF Health on the agreements required for the data sharing, specifically the real-time bed availability, so we can work to get clients to their destination as quick as possible and move them through that central receiving. And also transportation between the facilities. So we understand that transportation is going to be crucial to the success of the facility by triaging, assessing clients, and getting them transported to the facility that they will be ultimately receiving that care and treatment. As far as a timeline, as I mentioned, we've drafted the plans and we've presented them to multiple architects and have selected one to continue in the project. So we are awaiting the board approval to continue that construction contract with Brame Heck. And then by September, we will be reviewing and signing the aforementioned contracts and working with the architect on the final designs and the plans. By December 2022, we're hoping to begin construction pending permitting. And then December 2023, we anticipate as a project completion date. So that's kind of the anticipated timeline. During that time, I know there's a lot of questions about what services we'll be able to continue during that time. So during construction, we will work to continue the existing services and begin the new services in that site while construction is occurring by planning in phases that construction to allow services to occur in a portion of that area as they're completed. So that is the rough timeline and some information on the facility. Do you have any questions for me?
We do have, is that you, Commissioner Ward? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's less so a question than just a comment on the overall process. I'm thrilled to see it moving forward and to see actual dates attached.
We are too.
Yeah. The first conversation I had with anybody about this facility was fall of 2013. So I am so excited to see it getting hopefully done. I don't think anybody up here is going to stand in the way of anything. I feel very positive about it. I believe it changes and saves lives in our community, and that's what the whole process is about. I just wanted to remind everybody that it has been a very long process, because if I didn't hear about it until 2013, that means other people were talking about it before then. Anybody who's doing some quick math, that's more than 10 years.
Yeah.
So thank you for your work on it.
Thank you. Yeah, we're very, very excited to see this project moving along and the impact that it's going to have on the community. We're just thankful to be a part of it.
Thank you, Commissioner Cornell.
I'm just going to briefly add for our new commissioners, to echo what Commissioner Ward said, but the other thing I would say is, not only is it great for people's lives, but if you care about law enforcement, you care about public safety, this is desperately needed in our community, and it's really going to help law enforcement and public safety. So thank you for your comments, Commissioner Ward.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, yeah.
All right, may I have a comment for Mr. Wagner?
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Wagner, I have a comment for you, please, sir. I just want to say, Commissioners, as chair of the CGM-SAG committee that I've worked with, Mr. Wagner, this is his last public presentation for this program. And it is a wonderful hallelujah project for you to be going out on. And I just want to congratulate you and the supporting team who's going to be trying to pick up where you've left off. We'll try to do the best we can, won't we, team? Because when Commissioner Hutchison left, he left it in my hands. And I'm so pleased that he did, because I'm really honored to have been able to work with you and get to know you. And I hope you won't be a stranger after you get back for your travels.
Well, That's wonderful, and thank you so much, Commissioner Wheeler. I'm going to digress for one moment and say that all of you are in public service. I actually began in public service in the House of Representatives in 1976, 2 years after Watergate. I began work for the House Ways and Means Committee, and I left there after 8 years to go to graduate school in Chicago, and I left an institution that I, dearly loved and still do, but I see things under duress, and what I feel wonderful about and serendipitous is that I'm exiting my career in public service in a forum like this, in a community like this, with people that we have in this community all across our community. And just the investment, the level of interaction, inquiry, commitment, and you all at the local level serving everybody at the county level, at the city level. Thank you for your public service. It is desperately needed, and thank the Lord that we have folks like you who continue with it, because there are a lot of challenges out there. We all know the challenges, but thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for giving credit where credit's due, and I don't know, I can't help but think of the chief and his transition, just last week, and then with you, Stuart, that you get to go out on a high, you get to go out seeing something that you've worked a long time and get it across the finish line, and we'll make sure that we work around your schedule when we have the unveiling and grand opening, because it's important that you be there, along with everybody else who's worked on this. So there's no motion or no action. We've taken all the action to get it to this place, which is relieving, but we certainly, I think Madam Chair could hear from members of our public if they have any questions they'd like us to address or comments about this particular issue. And I'm running the clock today, so I'll do my best. This is not my usual duty, but wanted to give it plenty of space up here on the dais. Anybody want to speak to this item? Okay, very good. Well, thank you all. We look forward to seeing some dirt and concrete moved and some walls go vertical. All right, then, Madam Chair, our next item is an update on the Gainesville Community Redevelopment Area, and specifically a request that the city made to expand the eastern portion of the redevelopment area in the area, sort of vicinity of the Martin Luther King Citizens Field property. So we did receive a letter back from you with some requests. I don't know how much staff discussion there is really on this item, but Madam Manager, I'd certainly invite you up, and the county manager, if there's anything they wanted to put on the table or clarify, and then we can bring it back to the commissions for discussion. Madam Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Madam Chairwoman, members of the commissions. I'm Cynthia Curry, and I'm City Manager. In late July, there was a county commission meeting, and there was an update provided by Phil Mann at that time regarding the GCRA. I will just put some additional information on the record or reiterate some of the things that Mr. Mann discussed at that time. Talking about the GCRA, just for your information, we have done some reorganization with the GCRA. They started out with a staff of 11. We've shrunk that staff back to 8. We've shifted the salary savings of approximately $270,000 to a hold reserve so that it can be directed to projects that need it. And so we have downsized staff. 2 of those staff positions have been redirected to our new housing department. One of the positions is filled, the other one is vacant. But of the 8 positions that remained, 2 of them will be under the direction of Corey Harris, who is our new housing director. The other 6 will remain on the side of the GCRA directed toward what we hope will be transformational projects. And just to talk a little bit about the refocus of that department, we'd like to refocus that department on projects such as the planning process around a sportsplex that our commission approved an RFP that is out and currently under the cone. The responses are back. They are being evaluated. They will come to the commission very soon for an agreement around the selected firm to move forward with the planning around that development, and that's, of course, Waldo Road, Northeast 8th Avenue. We also have momentum around the East Side Health, we're calling it this, the East Side Health and Economic Development Initiative, which involves or encompasses the East Side Clinic and the tri-party agreement, which I'm pleased to say that agreement has moved forward with the city fully executing it. The county, I believe, has it. I won't speak for them, but I believe it's in a positive motion. It wasn't at one point in time, but I do believe that that is moving forward. We also have funding from the FTA for funding for a transit hub or transfer center in that same area, so that adds to the momentum of the East Side Clinic. We also have the opportunity with GCRA funds for a food hub in that area, as well as a community paramedicine center, our CRP. Other potential office and business uses, which we have been working on with property owned by White Battery and electric property. We've been working on 2 appraisals. We have the second appraisal hopefully being finalized this week. We are going to put forth the idea of purchasing some of that so that we can use it hopefully for housing purposes, and so that is also in motion. We have the opportunity to put out again the RFP that was, I think, maybe out a couple of years or so around the power district. There's lots of opportunity there. That is clearly a transformational project, and with new leadership, which we are searching for at this point in time relative to the GCRA. But in the absence of that, it is myself along with Phil Mann. We fully intend to press the projects that I've talked about previously forward without delay. We also have the opportunity within the CRA footprint for a cultural arts center. Again, our commission, they approved us moving forward with the planning process around a cultural arts center. That RFP is out. We actually had an item on our last commission meeting to approve the results of the evaluation committee, so that is also in progress. And there is future potential projects around the Takachale property as well as the airport gateway. So I believe that there is clearly the energy and the interest to make sure that we get something going in the GCRA. I realize that maybe since 2017-18, there's been some delay. It's clear without debate, but we are clearly in the position to move forward. The letter that came from Chairwoman Wheeler to you, Mayor Poe, and the other members of the commission involved a request from the city to expand the boundaries of the CRA, and I believe that is around other issues. That is what is to be discussed today.
Okay, thank you, Madam Manager.
We have all the maps of the current GCRA district, the expanded district in terms of boundaries, just in case we need to put it on the overhead.
Okay, appreciate that. Okay, who is number 4? Okay, Commissioner Santos.
Thank you, Mayor. I hope the county will reconsider its ask in the letter for additional amendments to the interlocal agreement. The city is just asking for really a simple move of a line a few hundred feet. Impactful projects are already difficult enough, and these projects we're trying to do are big. Adding more cooks to the kitchen will make that incredibly more difficult, and will make it less likely to occur and cause delays. So I would request that the county commission move forward with the line change. That will allow us to move forward in good speed and be able to make a more impactful project. I can't support adding more amendments to the agreement, as it will delay projects and make them less likely to happen. So I hope that the county commission will move forward with just changing the line. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Cornell?
Thank you. Thanks for bringing some air into the room, opening up those doors. That's good. Yeah, we appreciate that. Manager Curry, could I ask you a quick question? I know you and I have had a number of opportunities to speak about all of the activities that you have been working on. And I, as a county commissioner, just want to personally express my gratitude for all the work that you've been doing. On the RFP for 8th and Tower, because that's what really we were focused on when we had our discussion, what's the timeline for 8th and Tower?
Waldo?
I'm sorry, 8th and Waldo.
Right, we,
Got my mind.
Thank you.
Sorry, thank you, 8th and Waldo.
Got nervous for a
I
second.
don't know if I have an answer specifically to your question in terms of when a consultant would actually complete their work. We haven't negotiated with that individual yet. It's actually under the cone. The evaluation team is meeting. I'm not privy to what they're doing, but I know they're driving something to be shared with our commission, probably that first meeting in September.
Okay.
Once that selection has been made, then we'll be free to move forward with negotiations with a
Yep.
consultant, and so I really don't have an answer to your question.
Okay, and thank you. And I was able to watch the city commission discussion that Commissioner Chestnut, you kind of shepherded along, and you were at that meeting when we had this discussion. And I think from the county's perspective, without going through all of the history, we are very, very interested in these CRA dollars being utilized on the Waldo Road corridor on the eastern part of the city. And when you went through your list of items that you're working on, 8th and Waldo, the Eastside Health Clinic, the transfer hub and the food hub, the community paramedicine, the cultural arts center, the airport gateway in Takachali, all of those, to my colleagues on the county commission, are exactly right in line with what we are asking for and what we're looking for. We obviously have a change in staffing. That means there's time delays, and I get that. I understand that. I'm really pleased with the progress that the city has taken and the city commission has taken. And I'm comfortable moving forward with expanding that line, because all that does is, I think, really just adds opportunities for when that RFP is back, the city commission being able to use flexibility with CRA money, wild spaces money, general fund money, other money. And I think we all want this Waldo Road corridor to be transferred. So I'm really sorry that Commissioner Chestnut is not here, because he was really the one that was saying, when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? What, you know, and the last time we met, you know, we had that discussion, and I'm ready to put all that behind us and kind of move forward. So I would move that we direct staff to expand the boundaries at the city's request.
Thank you.
Motion, is there a second to the motion? Kelly? Seeing none.
For discussion, can we have a second for discussion?
All right, I think we have a motion and a second for discussion. Do we have someone from our staff, Mr. Mayor, do we have someone from our staff who might go over what it was that was the sticking point? The, what amendments we were looking for?
I can't speak to your
If I-
staff.
if I-
but we do have the letter. in
That's-
back.
Yeah, I mean, what I remember the discussion being is we wanted a timeline of when is the money going to be spent on Waldo and 8th, and what is the plan for spending the money that is, you know, coming from the county and being joined with the city for this projects that the manager just laid out. I think for us to expect them to tell us exactly when that's going to be is probably not going to happen at this meeting, but I am hearing a commitment that they're moving forward and they're going to be getting us that information. And so I don't know if they can even answer that question that we posed at our joint meeting. What we were looking for was, in my opinion, what I was looking for as a commissioner was, what's the commitment for the east side of Gainesville? And I do have the benefit of being able to speak to Manager Curry frequently about many of these projects. So maybe, you know, I may just know a little bit more than my colleagues, but I'm here to tell you that commitment is there. And I think the county, if the city could tell the county that in this meeting or in a formal letter, write it all out and what they're planning, I don't see any objection to expanding the lines.
Commissioner?
Let's see, we have, is that Commissioner Prizia? Okay, number 3? Okay, good.
So in addition to Commissioner President, I think I was the other one who voiced a lot of concern about the idea of expanding the boundaries. And my reasoning for that was kind of twofold. I feel like I'm echoing somehow, but anyway, maybe it's your mic, Madam Chair. Thank you. One is the fact that, well, I heard, and I thank you actually to the manager as well for all of her work to get things moving and to transition the CRA quickly to begin projects and really kind of getting the momentum on the east side going the way that I think the money was intended from the beginning. But I guess I question. I guess from my perspective, I feel like the question of like, what is this project? What is it that you're going to be doing? And why this project, and is it transformative? I guess it feels to me like it was like a hurry up and now come up with a project, and here's this project, we're going to do it as a sports arena. And I'm like, we have a bunch of sports arenas in town, we have a bunch of sports facilities. Why this facility? You all are supposed to be hiring, I know you guys are hiring a consultant and you have a lot of good ideas around this project, but I guess for me, the expansion of a boundary to include primarily city-owned property to do a transformative project on a piece of property that in some ways there's other funding that could be used. There's Parks and Rec money, there's ARPA money, there's fire rescue money, like, you have a lot of other facilities there. And so I guess there's so much other projects on the east side, and the manager outlined a number of those. The transportation hub, the food hub, and the airport gateway project, so many others that need critical funding. I guess I just don't understand the point of this project and the need to expand this boundary for this project. And so the question was, what is the project? What is the transformation that's going to happen because of it, and the timeline associated with that, so that we can have more comfort with why we should expand a boundary for that purpose, as opposed to that huge, big, expansive boundary that you already have to do projects in. That was my issue. Great.
You conclude?
My other question was that I just wondered if, well, yeah, I conclude for now. It's fine.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Ward?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the answer to what is it going to be depends, as it has for 4.5, maybe 5 years, on what buckets of money are available for it. It's really that simple. If you don't expand the boundary, that's okay. We can work with just CRA money for a sliver of the property and wild spaces money for the rest of the property. But we do less, and the answer for what is it is smaller than if we have access to CRA money for the entire property. So what is it? We can't describe it. We can't even give good information to the consultants that we brought on board until we know what money is available. We're not in the business, and I don't believe we should be in the business, of just throwing ideas at the wall and then go and see what funding is available. If we know what's available, we can be very specific about what can be done with it. I don't want to make promises to people in the neighborhoods about what's going to get built and then say, you know what, we couldn't access that bucket of money, so we're not going to build the community center, the arts center. We're not going to expand the MLK Center. We're just going to put a roof on it and that's going to be it. I don't want to make promises that we cannot deliver. And we don't know what we can deliver until we know where that boundary is. I don't know how to be more clear than that, but after many, many years of discussion about it, it's become deeply frustrating and dispiriting even. I thought that asking to move the line, not to bring in more money, but to make it more possible to complete a full project, was a relatively simple ask. It's not. I just want to know what we have to work with. And once we know that, then the folks that we are in the process of hiring to help us think through it can think through very clearly. But if we're not going to have access to a full bucket of money, then we can spend that elsewhere. There are other projects that are certainly very useful and worthwhile, but I would be happy to walk that area with you and show you where the needs are. I've talked to the neighbors. I've walked it a lot. I actually walked Citizens Field with most I think the entire school board one at a time and with most of the school board candidates to be real specific about what they're looking for when we rebuild the stadium that they're the only tenant of. There's a lot we can deliver for the community, but we don't know what that is until we know what the budget can be. And I have felt multiple times, like every time we got every time we got ready for kickoff, Lucy moved the football. And I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to do that anymore. So let's figure out if we're going to kick football or not and move forward. That's all. Thank you.
Commissioner Saka.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm
Go ahead, Commissioner Saka.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, y'all, let's
So-
be respectful.
I'm going to agree with Commissioner Hernandez and even Commissioner, my brain stopped right now. Cornell, thank you. I am slow today, guys. Thank you for that. It is, we on the city commission, and I think even y'all have taken a lot of steps to make it easier to develop housing. For example, we don't do this extra presentation, you don't have to give this extra permit, you don't have to do this extra step, because we realize it costs money and it slows down the actual construction of affordable housing or any housing. Likewise, if we, include like monthly check-in, you have to tell us where we are, you have to tell us where this is, oh, you didn't meet this deadline, oh, both commissions have to meet and agree to X, Y, and Z, or now we want to see why you haven't done it, so both commissions have to meet again. That takes time. We can barely schedule 7 of us to get together, much less 12, and our staffs. So it's going to be a hurdle. It's going to be a hurdle that isn't necessarily useful. We are getting updates. Whenever we do a project and it's millions of dollars, we get updates. And which brings me to one of my questions, Madam Manager, if I could ask you a question. This was conversation, I think, in the past year. I can't remember. Time is relevant. There was talk, and I know GCRA has kind of, gone everywhere, of having a sort of dashboard to see these are where our projects are. This is how much money has been spent. This is, the now estimated time. Have we gotten any further with that?
Not to my knowledge, Commissioner.
Is that?
It is something that is requested. We can certainly work to make it happen.
Okay. And I asked because that was something that was talked about. I wasn't sure where it ended up, which does kind of solve the question, not just for this project, but all our projects. I know from personal experience, and then some of our folks, some of our neighbors, the question is, you voted for the thing, and we go, yeah, now it's not in our hands anymore. It's, in the hands of time, work, labor, budget. Something like that kind of solves the issue for all of these projects. It's in the, it's out on bid, it's under evaluation, it is being constructed, phase 1, 2, 5.
That's a reasonable request.
Again, I know it's like, go build a thing, but that's not necessarily the point, but something like that for all of our projects, not just one that we are asking the expansion of 100 feet, it's different. It does give it to everyone and makes it useful for all of our projects, which our neighbors are interested in, and y'all. But I don't want to say on this particular project, I want to put a million other hurdles, because it's going to slow it down. And then when things are slow, people get frustrated. And things can be slow even for other reasons. I've done ride-alongs with our building department for, let's look at some stuff for an hour. And they'll point out to apartment buildings and say, well, this one piece that they need to finish the rooms, it's proprietary, it's not being made right now, and all construction had to stop. Those are things we can't control, that the architect can't control, that the company can't control. We could run into any of those, and if y'all decide, oh, well, you didn't meet this one deadline because literally something outside of our control happened, and there's been a lot of that the last 2 years, does whatever we theoretically renegotiate give y'all the authority to pull the plug, to take back money, to make us repay? That's not something we should. I don't want to do that because it doesn't actually help anyone. Anything building a shed in someone's backyard takes time and things happen. Building, renovating, basically transforming that entire space is gonna take time. And when things take, a year, you gotta build in wiggle room. Like, something's gonna go wrong. You hope it doesn't, but you gotta expect it. So I don't want us to lie to you, to the public, and say, it'll be done on, August 15th, this part will be done. Because maybe it is, maybe it isn't. We can't control that. Another question, Madam Manager, for all the projects that you listed, in the theoretical allocation that we think the project would cost, do the funds for all of the projects already exist in future GCRA budget?
Some of them, not all of them. For example, the future projects relative to Takachali and the airport gateway are not outlined yet, but some of them are.
So like food, bus, obviously the transit and the East Side Health Clinic, like all those.
For example, 8th and Waldo, I believe 12.8 million over the next 7 years. There are many other projects that are obviously funded throughout. They may have to be rearranged to accommodate whatever the priorities are after we get the plans back and joint bodies take a look at, what is at hand in terms of expenses and decide maybe some of the other projects they want to reprioritize. But we do have a listing of funding for most of the items that I talked about earlier.
All of these good things could be funded. And again, it's,
They may have to be
3, 4,
prioritized.
5 years down the road, other funding shows up, other funding isn't there. We can't control that. We can't predict it. If all of us could predict the economy, I don't think we'd be here. I certainly wouldn't. But there is a lot that can be done and will be done. Any one of these projects is transformative for the region. So as far as what does this bring? Is it city land? Yes, but what it's going to bring is a venue, entertainment, jobs that come with that venue and entertainment. It's going to bring a space that isn't half condemned for our schools to come see their children play or do sports, be engaged in. I don't want to go any further because but it's going to do and be a great space for not us. I'm not going to go play football, for the community, which doesn't necessarily have a lot of those options. Any of the options we previously talked about nearby. So when you talk about transformative, it's an opportunity, whatever it ends up being, and the many options available, they are things that are not available there.
I would agree, and I think we can speak and just look to the momentum so far with the tri-party agreement relative to Shands and funds in hand actually to do the East Side transfer station with the opportunity to leverage from there, the CRP Center. So, even with the other projects that are absolutely wonderful and would be transformative for the community, like the Sportsplex, the Cultural Arts Center, we have momentum ongoing right now. And I left out the food hub, but I meant to include that.
Thank you, ma'am. So, that's really my ask is, and our ask, I think, as a body of, give us the opportunity to be able to do this. We've had 5 years of chaos. It's
and
in order now.
We need to do something in the East Side. It's just a lot of talk, and we're ready to put the work in.
We are. It took a while to get the plans, but we seen, okay, now we have plans. Let us do them without trying to change, the agreement of what it is or the conditions under which we can access this money. So I appreciate Commissioner Cornell's motion. I hope his colleagues really consider what the manager and we have presented as this is what we can do, and this is the harm it could do if we go back to the table. So I just ask that y'all consider it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Chestnut.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I would say that this is an opportunity for the County Commission and the City Commission to jointly address issues in East Gainesville. People in East Gainesville are very, very tired of their dreams being deferred. We wait and we wait and we pay. We come out. We support all of the infrastructure measures you put on the ballot. We are team players. But at the end of the day, what do we have to show for it in East Gainesville? Nothing. 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 Now this project, as a joint project, it would be a gateway to East Gainesville. It is an economic development project, which is going to help our community. The cone of silence has us restricted at this point. We can't share everything, but I am sure, did we not send the presentation that was presented on the RFP?
To the county, I can't, I did
Okay.
not make that.
Well,
I did not do that.
that's fine, that's fine. This project will complement Celebration Point. I think some people want to think and want to just say Celebration Point is going to be the be-all and end-all for the whole city. It's not going to be that for people in East Gainesville. First of all, they don't have the transportation to get out there. They need something in their own community. And so you may have some misgivings. We don't have misgivings. This is a matter of trust. People in East Gainesville want to know that they can trust the city commission and that they can trust the county commission to work together to deliver this project. Plan East Gainesville started with Tom Cowett, the first African American to serve on the county commission. And it has progressed each year forward. Everybody running for county commission, city commission, their platform is we're going to help East Gainesville. We're going to do economic development. And then when it's time for the economic development, we have nothing there, nothing to show. So this project, we have gotten very far in getting the RFP out on the street. I think what Commissioner Chuck Chestnut was saying, he wanted to see a firm commitment. And I think part of that firm commitment is we have the RFP out on the street. And people are being asked to tell us what can we do in East Gainesville to develop this complex. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is that Commissioner Ariola? Or Prizia? Well, it's whoever pressed it.
It's me, but I'll defer because I've already spoken.
Okay, Commissioner Ariola.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What I'd really like to recommend, if this motion does not pass on the county commission side, I think that we're headed towards a consensus, but with one member of the county commission not being here, it's difficult for us to tell how an affirmative vote would transpire. So I'm okay with what I've heard from the county. If it means waiting till the end of the cone of silence and having a vendor and having a plan going forward, because I understand it is asking a lot. So I'm okay if, I don't think this is one of those votes where if it doesn't happen today, it will never happen. You all may recall I was one of the commissioners who recommended that we don't change the boundaries for this very reason exactly. Much of the board that was on the county when we first went through the negotiations to change the CRA, they're not on the county commission anymore. So I think we have an opportunity here to pass this vote. If it doesn't, that's okay. All I'm hearing is a request for more information, which we currently cannot give legally. So we can always come back around again. So I just wanted to sort of cool the air a little bit, just reminding folks that we're going to have more opportunities to have this discussion. Obviously, a lot of things are in the works right now, and so I think we're going to have more opportunities. Thank you.
Mr. Mann, did you want to get in here? We've got a lot of lights, but it seems like you...
I wanted to hopefully try to clarify some of this a little bit and talk about how we're going to do transformational projects and what can be a catalyst, because we're talking about Waldo and 8th, and we don't know what's going to be the catalyst. But this project has grown from, this is the GTech site and the Eastside Clinic site. And this has grown from just a joint agreement between the city and the county to fund an urgent care center. And we found a location, and then as we found that location, RTS has wanted to locate a hub on the east side. They got funding for that, and working with RTS, UF, and the GCRA, we went from a clinic to a possible, pending the outcome of acquiring this one piece of parcel, we went from a single clinic to what hopefully will be a transformational development on the east side, which will, I mean, I have a couple of site plans here but I wouldn't want to hold that to it because we've still got to do our due diligence on the land. But I mean, you can see from this site plan, you've got GTech here. This is property the city already owns. This is the site that we're looking at purchasing, and then this is the UF site. We're going from a clinic to a complete transformational development, and it's going to be a joint RTS, UF, GCRA, or larger term city-county project that we just don't know what the catalyst for 8th and Waldo is going to be that's going to spur that. And when GCRA developed their 10-year plan, I don't think this project wasn't even on the burner except for maybe the Eastside Clinic. So I think it's important that we remember that we need to be flexible and how we move forward in developing these transformational projects, because we just don't know from one year to the next what's going to be the catalyst that allows us to draw in other funds and bundle something together like this. And I just wanted to throw that out there for everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Mann. Commissioner Cornell.
That's a great transition. Thank you, Mr. Mann, because, much of what you just said, we actually talked about as a joint city, county, and UF, that when we make investments, private investments follow. And when we make investments in East Gainesville, more things begin to happen. So when the county and the city and UF come together, it opened up the RTS opportunity, which is an MTPO opportunity, which we are joint body. And so I just want to talk to my colleagues for just a minute, if I could, city commissioners, because we need 3 votes today, or we'll just delay it. I really wish Chuck was here, because I think Chuck was really interested in hearing about the corner of 8th and Waldo, because when the previous boards agreed on this 10-year interlocal agreement of $70 million, it was to move the funds from the CRA, which are around College Park, to the Waldo Road corridor. That was the essence of why we did this. And I don't want to micromanage the city's CRA. I don't. I just want things to happen. My only frustration was we haven't spent the money yet, but there's also a really good side to we haven't spent the money yet. It's all available right now. And so as these things are beginning to develop, it's available now. And if we had spent it, we may have spent it in College Park. So there's a real upside to the fact that we haven't spent it now. We've had a complete change in leadership. We've had a complete change on our board. Y'all are going through potentially a change in your board. I do not want to renegotiate the 10-year interlocal agreement. I want projects in East Gainesville. And all I've heard in the update that we got and the update that we're hearing today is all these projects are in East Gainesville. I'm satisfied. I'm happy. I'm very happy. And I'm hoping that we just go ahead and pass this to give you all the flexibility. You don't have to spend it. It's just moving the line a little bit. And if it works out, then it works out. It's not saying, I just think it gives the city commission a lot more flexibility. And I mean, the other thing that I will say is, we're really, really frustrated that the money hasn't been spent yet. I will tell you, and when I talk to my city commission colleagues, they are equally frustrated. But the silver lining of that is the money's there. It's there now, and we're about to, I think, do some really big things. And we're positioned. I think we've got the right people in the right positions at the right time. And I think it's something that, let's give the city commission that flexibility. Let's get back that RFP. They're going to have further discussions about what the opportunities are. We can weigh in on that. We can listen to that. I mean, we can continue to kind of shepherd all these things along as a joint body. And I think that's the goal here. So I wish Chuck was here, because if we got a signal from him, I think that would help. I'd like to hear from, I guess, my colleagues, but I'm hoping that we move this forward for the city.
Thank you. Commissioner Duncan Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My light down here is not working, but I greatly appreciate you for recognizing me. I would just like to say to my colleagues at the County Commission, I really appreciate your consideration of moving this line. I don't want projects in East Gainesville. I need projects in East Gainesville. I need projects in East Gainesville to improve the quality of life, to improve healthcare outcomes, to improve and address public health issues, to improve opportunities for education, to address gun violence issues. And with what we're looking at potentially doing on the corner of 8th and Waldo, that's one way that we could address that. I have constituents who are begging for this project. And I understand your concerns. I really do. But I can really appreciate what Commissioner Cornell has said, is that in moving this line, you simply give us at the City Commission flexibility. We need the flexibility to be able to do good work for a community who has waited a long time for the change that they have been promised. We now have the resources in several different areas to be able to bring that change to fruition. And it is my prayer that we will do everything that we can to bring that change now. We need it now more than ever. Unfortunately, I am hearing from the police department too many times, and listen, I don't even have to tell you that I'm hearing from the police department. I hear from my own window the sirens as they speed down the street to whatever it is they're speeding to. And I hear the parents and the children asking us for the alternatives. We want places to go. We want things to do. We want jobs. Those are the recurring themes. By moving this line, we simply increase the options or the opportunity to do that. I don't want to belabor the point, but I appreciate you for giving this some serious thought and some serious consideration, because now, frankly, is the time. I think everybody up here on this commission is blessed and privileged to be amongst those who can make this finally happen. I do not sleep thinking about this change, waiting for this change. I heard someone say earlier it is a gateway project on 8th and Waldo. That's absolutely true. And I'll tell you this, when I first came to the commission, Commissioner Ward, I thought that the MLK Center was in my district. I thought it was mine. It is mine. But it's all of ours, absolutely. It's all of ours. And there is a shared love, there is a shared need. But I say all that to say that just crossing what has historically been a line of separation and demarcation for two different Gainesvilles is something really powerful and extreme. And so the opportunity to do something incredible that our community has asked us for years has presented itself. And I think to be able to access a number of different ways to do it is what we have the opportunity to do here. And I certainly hope that my colleagues on both sides of the street will continue that, move it forward, and seriously consider allowing us to move that line. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is that Commissioner Prizia?
Thank you, Commissioner Duncan Walker. I hear you loud and clear, and I'll just say that if the reason that I have been pushing on this so hard doesn't have anything to do with the fact that I don't want to see transformation in East Gainesville. In fact, it's the exact opposite. When I have been at almost every meeting about the CRA since it began, I haven't served on the board, but I've been to all the public engagement meetings. I've watched every one of your meetings where you talk about it. It is a critical issue. It's been a critical issue for me as a citizen of the city and as a commissioner. And I think that what's frustrating for me is that you all have a whole plan, and your manager and your staff are now executing that plan in really cool ways, and it's a very exciting to see. But that plan involved a lot of public engagement. A lot of people spent a lot of their time and energy going out to meetings to have conversations about what was going to happen with their taxpayer dollars in these districts, and then ultimately now in this city, city program. And it's got a whole big space. And so this idea that like now all of a sudden there's this new space that we have to include in order for this transformation to happen, when we had a whole list of potential projects and ideas that had come and been baked into a plan to begin with, is it's hard for me to digest. But especially when there's other dollars that also can be spent in that space. But I hear you loud and clear that sometimes it takes lots of different pots of money and lots of creative thinking and the right mix of people, both on the team, in the administrative and implementation side, as well as on the dais, to be able to make things happen. And so I'm willing to get out of the way. I mean, my previous commission already, gave free rein on the CRA, which is not something that I would have done, to be totally frank with you. And I recognize we're not reopening that for negotiation, and that was never something that I would have asked for. I just wish that there was an actual plan presented to the people, like a real plan with real information about what's happening, because the people that I'm talking to on the east side of Gainesville do not understand what's happening. They don't know what's going to happen on that property, and they don't know what this new idea is going to be, and so for them it's just as scary as all the other times when we said we're going to spend the money and then we don't spend it. And so I am just trying to make sure that we live up to the promises that we're making, and that we have a solid plan that our community can get behind, that it's not just an idea, that's going to sound good on paper and not turn out to be good in real life. But I hear you, and at the end of the day, if you really believe in it, and you really believe in it, and you all have been the people who have been up here advocating for the east side of Gainesville and who represent the east side of Gainesville, I'm not going to stand in the way.
Mr. Mayor, may I just say, Commissioner Chestnut is on his way.
Okay, great, thank you. Commissioner Sacco?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you, everyone, really for your contributions to the conversation. I do want to point out we have now been almost 45 minutes in a discussion about a line. So the thought of agreeing jointly to a plan and a schedule, I can only imagine how long that would take, as we talk about a line for a couple hundred feet. So I think if we just kind of carry that along, proportionally, it's probably going to be even longer just to figure out what we want. And I know one of my colleagues said that, once the cone of silence is gone, we can, figure out what we want. No, when the cone of silence is gone, that vendor, in theory, because I know it's what we want for most of our projects, should talk to our neighbors. I can't give you a plan at the end of that because our neighbors haven't given input. And you're right, Commissioner Prizio, our neighbors should be part of that conversation. What do you need? But at that point, the vendor can't produce a plan because they don't know, and we don't know, how much land is available with GCRA dollars and how much is going to have to come for another pot. If I don't know the budget, I don't know what I can give you. And they're going to say the same thing. So they're hopefully not going to interrupt me when I'm speaking either. So when we say design something, they're going to ask, what's our budget? And us telling them we don't know yet, we'd like conversation first, but you need to give us a plan so we're allowed to tell the folks what we're going to go with. You need one to come before the other. You do. And if y'all definitely don't want it, y'all definitely don't want it. But it decides once and for all what that vendor is going to be able to design and what we can propose and ask our neighbors. Because until we know that, we don't know what we can do. So the ask isn't for more money. The ask isn't for more time. The ask is to let us use it on the rest of this giant property for a benefit that our neighbors are still asking for. I really hope y'all hear that, because it's more opportunity, not more time or money. And I know we have many projects, but I think the goal of the GCRA was economic development, redevelopment of the area. It's in the name. So if we can't give in the broadest sense what our neighbors asked for and voted for there, then what's the point? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Chestnut?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would ask the county commission, please do not defer this vote today. The people want to know where we stand, and I think that needs to be very clear today. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Eagle-Glenn?
I do have clarity on the issue now. Development, whether public or private, is visionary, and I understand that moving this line is helping with the bidding process. We can't have a complete picture about what exactly is going to happen, and I'm clear on that. Thank you. I will vote in favor.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. Can someone put the aerial photo up again of the property? Thanks.
While you do that, may I make a comment too?
Sure.
All right. I generally try to wait till our commissioners have had their say,
Yeah,
and
I agree.
sometimes it takes a while. But I would just say, for 22 years that I taught children that came from the east side, it's been a concern of mine as well. And for every commissioner that came on from that district over there who was gung-ho, I volunteered, as you know, and as you know, I said, I'm in, just show me what you want. Let's look through architectural pictures, journals. Let's find something that's pretty and put it up there and make it functional. So I am very much in favor. We have extended CRA lines for High Springs. We've done it. Hawthorne has asked, that's not an issue for me. And if you guys are ready to go, this is more than we've seen in a while. And so it's exciting to see that you guys have got a list and a plan and sites. I would ask you to be careful when you all are trying to get land on that corridor, particularly by GTEC. There are business owners there that are concerned that they're going to be run out. So they don't want to lose their businesses and their land and their property there that they've developed. It may not be as exciting and beautiful as some of the other things that the university can put together at the city, but it's theirs, and they have built it on their own too. So just, be sensitive to the other landowners that are across the road from there, and make sure that you're talking to all of those people around there, because some of those people don't want to give up their land. Some of them are proud of the businesses they built, even though they are lackluster in a lot of ways. They are cultural and historic, and so I'm with you, Commissioner Cornell and Eagle Glenn, and Commissioner who is talking, and we'll get our other commissioner in here, and I'm sure he will be pleased to see the momentum. That's all I think he was asking for, because he sits right by me in the commission meetings, and I get to hear him under his breath, and I think mainly that's what he was looking for, was momentum.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So just for clarity, including, or maybe especially those who might be following at home or watching this at a later date, Madam Manager, can you or Mr. Mann or maybe Mo, you're the right person. What does that red line represent? I think that's the kind of key. We've talked about a lot of things today, but we really haven't talked about what that red line represents.
Mr. Mayor, Madam Chair, the red line on this map represents the existing boundary for the GCRA. Everything east of the red line is currently in the GCRA. Everything west of the boundary is not in the GCRA currently. And so that's what the red line represents.
Right. So that's the sort of core of what the request was from the city, is to include the entire property. And I want to just I want to try to focus this on why that's so important, because whomever our consultant ends up being, and whatever outreach they do, and whatever long-term plan there is, there are some really important and cool things we can do, certainly with the stadium and the frontage property on Waldo Road. And we know how important that is to be welcoming and draw people in. But everything else, there's so much opportunity there. And it just really, if we restrict the potential for that, including commingling different funds, going out and looking for grant opportunities, it just limits the scope and the impact that can ultimately happen there. And so I think this is a small ask, but an important one, because it really will allow us to work with the entire community, including the county commission, to achieve the goals and the vision that a lot of people have worked on for a long time. The second thing, I want to go back and thank Commissioner Cornell for, I think, an important point he made, that there's sort of two, because this is a sunsetting program and funding source, there's really kind of two approaches, right? You can try to every year spend down that year's money doing a bunch of little things, or you can allow some of it to accrue so you can really make a big impact. And you heard the city manager say a lot of, I think, our most impactful items and projects do have funding. The food center, the mobility hub, which is critical, the health campus, all of those things already have dedicated revenue. And so if we can allow this fund to accrue a little bit more, it creates a much different level of impact than if we just, try to kind of spend it down every year. And that's a tough decision, because, nobody, this is always a hard thing for governments, that if the folks that are paying the taxes see a fund just sitting there not being used, it draws attention. But in this case, I think there's a really good argument to be made on why that's going to allow us more options and a greater impact in the long run, because we've been able to do that. And so, I'm not saying that was intentional or not, between sort of organizational change and COVID and everything, that the sort of natural pause that has happened. You can always look at positives and negatives, but that's a positive, is that we now have accrued some funds that are going to be able to really make a big difference. So I really want to thank the commissioners, the county commissioners, for listening and showing their willingness to make this minor sort of move in a line that would seem to fit naturally within the property. And I want to especially thank Commissioner Chestnut for joining us. Your voice has been missed, and certainly I think there is some interest in hearing what you might have to say. If there are any questions that our staff, I, or your chair can answer that would help fill in any of the gaps that from the previous afternoon's discussion, I'm happy to do so. And so before I get to the lights, Commissioner Chestnut, I'd love to give you an opportunity to share your
yes, is
thoughts.
there a motion on the floor, may I ask?
There is. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Yeah, so looking at this line, I just also noticed that the MLK Center would be moved in it. That's important from my perspective, just so that you all know, because they play pickleball in the MLK. No, in all seriousness. So, Chuck, thank you for bringing kind of this to a forefront. We've been talking about what the commitment is, what specifically the commitment is on this corner. And over the last hour, we've gotten another update from Manager Curry which kind of supplemented the last update that we got over at our chambers. And I'm very comfortable moving forward, so I put a motion on the floor that we direct our staff to work with the city staff to expand the boundaries of the CRA line to include what the city's request was.
Okay, what assurances do we have that things will be moving forward or not? That's
been the
my
last
concern.
hour. Yeah, that's been our last
Yeah,
hour.
so Commissioner, and I'd be happy to ask Ms. Curry to come up here again. She sort of laid out. Let me give it a try, Ms. Curry. I think, but if I misspeak, please correct me. I know that you would always do that. So we currently have an RFP out for a firm. We gave a scope of what we would like to see considered at that site. We are in the cone of silence right now for that, so we can't really discuss the specifics. But the responses are back. The evaluation is being done by our staff, and it's our staff's hope to get it back before us on either the first or second meeting in September with a recommendation. Once we make that, then they would negotiate the contract with that firm, and that firm will start their community engagement process to start developing and submitting sort of ideas and eventually a proposal or a suite of options for what might happen at that site. So specifically with that site, that's where we are in the process. The manager also went through some other projects, many of which are off the Hawthorne Road corridor, that are funded and are moving along or have their commitments. We have the contract through a contract signed with UF for the clinic, and we also have funding for a RTS transfer station to be co-located at that site, ideally, as well as a food hub or a grocery type option. So, but specifically for this site, yeah, we're nearing the end of that cone of silence, and we'll soon be choosing the consultant that will then begin doing the work.
Okay, I guess I had some concerns, and I asked for a stipulation that if nothing was done, that the funding comes back to the county. So I have no problem with moving forward, but guys, we've been at this for 3 years and nothing has happened. I just want to make sure, that we move forward, something happens. I'm sorry to be a pain in somebody's side, but if that's what it takes, it's been 20 years that we've been talking about East Gainesville. Nothing has occurred. Nothing, we just recently broke ground on the fairgrounds in reference to the military and their installation going there, which we hope will bring some economic development to East Gainesville, at least to some point or some way. But right now, I'm just concerned. I mean, I trust you guys, but I don't think the people are going to be beginning to trust us because of what we talked about, what we're doing, and we're showing nothing at this point. And we created one CRA, and the purpose of that was to make sure that something happened in East Gainesville. And we dedicated the funding, at least our funding from the county, to do that. So that's my major concern right now. And I'm sorry I missed a presentation, but we've had death in our business, a real key employee, and we're just trying to get things ready for Thursday. And so today was kind of hectic for me, and so, but I did not want to miss this, and so I did get through what I was doing to be able to get here in time. And so did I hear there was a second on the motion or not?
Yes, seconded for discussion.
Seconded for discussion? Okay, so that's good to hear. Okay, all right, sounds good.
Thank you, appreciate that, Commissioner Chestnut. You good?
I'm good.
Okay, thank you. And we all express our condolences for Larry's loss. I was telling Commissioner Chestnut that he was the one that helped me through my dad's loss and was a great comfort. So whatever we can do for him and his family. Thank you.
But I didn't get an answer to my question. Are there some assurance?
Well, yes. Yeah, go ahead, Madam Manager. I mean,
I'm the sacrifice.
yeah.
I know.
Yes.
There are
Good.
I will drive it as hard as I can, Commissioner. You have my commitment.
Manager Curry, could you also just really briefly go through the list of Waldo Road projects that, I mean, I have the list in front of me. Would it be better for me to do it?
Yeah, would you
Okay.
like my list?
8th and Waldo, Eastside Health Clinic, Transfer Hub and Food Hub at the Transfer Clinic, the Community Paramedicine project. They're putting out an RFP for the Power District, which is not East Gainesville, but also they've been working on the Cultural Arts Center and then the Airport Gateway and Takachali are two projects which we've been talking about a lot, which kind of mirror the north side of Waldo Road and then moving into this project.
Mr. Mayor, if I might, Madam
Go
Chair.
ahead,
In addition to that, a couple of properties that we have a second appraisal going on that we hopefully plan to bring to the board to purchase to help us with our housing footprint as well. But we have quite a bit of momentum, Commissioner Chestnut, going on the Waldo Road side with the Shands, being the catalyst. And as Commissioner Cornell mentioned, the food hub, along with the transfer station for RTS, as well as our community paramedics program. There's a lot of momentum there, much more than when we started out with the Shands project. It's grown, quite frankly, in the last 3 or 4 months. And it's very likely that it will continue to evolve. And so I believe, on behalf of staff that's working with it, and probably one of the things that we have not done well is to communicate on a regular basis with the county staff to keep them up to date on where we are. And you have my pledge that that will happen going forward.
Well, I know that there's some type of agreement that has to be signed, that I asked for. Are that still in?
You talking about with the health facility?
No, I'm talking about what our motion was when we sent over here, to make sure that something happens, if that's still in the agreement or not.
Commissioner, the
Yeah, refer to
motion,
the
the motion
attorney.
asked for the line to be moved, not with the.
No, yeah, and I thought I made a motion that we put a stipulation on it that we would have no problem with doing that, but we just wanted some assurance that that will occur. And so I asked if nothing happens, that we get the money back.
And so so what we talked about, Chuck, was I had asked, what's the timeline on the RFP and this specific project? They're not able to give us a timeline other than big broad strokes, because that RFP is going to come back and then lay out the timeline, and they're in the cone of silence, so they're not able to give us a specific timeline.
Mr. Mayor, Madam Chairman. So Commissioner Chestnut, what has happened, and the reason that I'm not able to give a specific timeline right now on the turnaround for 8th and Waldo is because we did put out an RFP. We have the responses for the Sportsplex. We have responses in hand. We have an evaluation team that's met. That process is still ongoing, so I'm not even privy to what's happening there, but I'm told that it is coming to a close and we should be able to present to the commission first or second meeting in September. That way, we'll have a consultant on hand. We will be able to negotiate after that and be better equipped to give you some timelines going forward. But we are moving.
Yeah, but I'm trying to, maybe I'm getting confused, and maybe I'm not quite understanding what is being said. But I thought we wanted some assurance that something would have happened. So what I'm hearing so far, this is not in the agreement. The agreement is to accept what the city is doing. Okay, we did that initially. Nothing happened. 3 years, nothing happened. Maybe it's just me. Well, I don't care
Okay,
how you feel about it, but I just want to be realistic to make sure something happens. Nothing has happened in 3 years. The money is, I'm assume, accruing interest somewhere. I get that. I have no problem, but I just want some assurance. The last time, we put no assurance on anything. We trusted the city to go ahead and to move forward, to do what they wanted to do. That has not happened. That's the heartburn I'm having. Nothing personally against any of you, but look, something is not right. I'm just saying, So,
Yeah,
I do have a vote. I just want to let that know.
Sure, and I don't want to reopen a bunch of things that we discussed, but things have happened.
I tell you what, I'll support it this time, but if something comes back and it doesn't happen, you can forget Chuck.
You
okay?
got you got my number.
I'm
but
telling you now.
but when you talk about the health clinic, that wasn't anywhere a year ago. The transfer station, that wasn't anywhere a year ago. The grocery, we swung at and missed. We were close, but it just didn't end up getting done. But we still have the money there for it and are ready to try again. And so things are happening. You can't see them with your eyeballs when you drive down the road. I agree. It's not there, but they are. They can't get done until we have them at this stage, and that's where we want 8th and Waldo to get. We want it to get where we have the funding and the commitment and the vision, so we can start moving dirt. But I thank you. I mean, I do. I thank you for your willingness to.
Well, I just hope you guys are hearing my frustration.
We absolutely. We share it. We're all excited to get more done quicker. Absolutely.
Well, if it doesn't happen, you won't have my support for the future. So
Heard
just being honest.
and we appreciate you reminding us of that, Commissioner. Commissioner Cornell?
No.
Okay.
Just said it all. I think I heard him say you have his vote, but you also heard what, I mean, I've heard Chuck, I went back, we've been talking for an hour and a half on this. About kind of the history and moving that money from College Park into East Gainesville. We've got a list of projects. I feel like this was a previous board, and I feel like we've got that commitment now. So I'm ready to move that line and give them that flexibility and move forward.
Thank you. Commissioner Saka?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Commissioner Justin, I hear you. I made this chair today because I was frustrated with the project not moving along quickly enough. So I get it. And it took so long, I ended up voting on it. But, work was being done. It was slow, it was tedious, it went back and forth on that project. And nobody knew, really a lot of work had been done until, the finish line. Because that's when you see the project. That's when you have, the conversation at the big commission meeting, and so everyone sees it then. They don't see, our staff going back and forth. They don't see the RFPs, the RFQs. They don't see those. The average person doesn't see that. And as the mayor said, with your eyeballs, it's happening, but even we don't see it half the time. So I understand your frustration. The mayor listed some of the stuff we have moved forward on, but the other thing that happened the last 3 years was COVID. And a lot of stuff just stopped because it was triage. So it just, I get it, but I also get the context of where we worked in. So I appreciate that you're willing to give us that chance. I agree with you. I will be mad if we don't get anything done. I'll be right there with you, very angry at everyone. But it wasn't, it wasn't for lack of wanting to. Everybody up here wanted to do something, many somethings. And now we have, most consensus on moving forward. Our staff is with us. The commission being agreed completely with staff on board, with the public on board, that doesn't happen. This is something that's happening. So it is moving forward. We have great staff now. They're all on board and working towards it because they believe in the project too. I think that should be an assurance there. Staff is for it. It's not just our ideas. Staff thinks it's good. So I have a lot of high hopes, and these days I keep my hopes pretty low. But I appreciate you giving us this chance. Otherwise, I will be with you picketing outside.
Well, I hear that, but your confidence are totally different from my confidence. And right now, I have to be shown at this point. That's all I'm saying. My career is almost 20 years, and that talk about East Gainesville has been around 20 years. Nothing has happened. So you understand my frustration. So your level of confidence is great, but mine is not. I'm not there until I actually start seeing something. So I'm sorry. So thank you. Thank you for
Commissioner,
your
I'm
comments.
happy to sit down with you and our staff for a little bit longer and more detailed look at what's going on, what's in the process. If you want to get in a car and do it that way, I'm happy to do that too, if you'd like to. I know you're very busy, but if we can find time. Commissioner Chestnut? Other Commissioner Chestnut?
It's Cynthia,
Yes,
Commissioner
yes,
Chestnut.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say to Commissioner Chuck Chestnut, we have done more on this project in the last 6 months, probably in the 20 years that you've been talking about. And so things are moving. The commitment is there. I hope we can get a 5-0 vote from the county commission today on this so that we can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Madam Chair, actually.
I'm just thinking if we've heard from all of our thank you. We've heard from all of our commissioners, we should probably hear from the citizens.
Absolutely. We have
All
heard
right.
from everybody a few times, so we'd love to invite folks up now for public comment on this issue. Be kind. I'm running the clock myself today. It's been a while, so I'll do my best. Mr. Blount, the motion is from the county to extend the line to include the whole sort of properties, there. Go ahead, Mr. Blount.
So if I can distract you, I can get more time.
It's possible.
I want to say first, as a member of the GCRA board, I'm surprised to be surprised. I didn't know this was coming today. But it makes so much perfect sense. I mean, the old boundary, we're looking at what to do with Citizens Field, what's going to come out to the corner of 8th and Waldo, and the old line split the baby. I mean, the MLK Center and the pool, if you're talking about Sports Center, you cannot separate Citizens Field from the MLK Center and the pool. And the other things in this area are all government. Well, this is federal government, and there's a private building here, but it serves first responders, that little office, and then you have the fire department stuff. So it's all, it is a cohesive whole that has been artificially split up to now by that boundary. So this just makes sense to make that, how can you hire consultants? You're burning up money to bring in consultants on something that's nebulous and ill-defined. So this heightens that definition. And I wish we could speak today on some of those other things on CRA, especially the health clinic and how things are going at Heartwood, but there'll be another time for that.
Thank you, Mr. Blount. Welcome.
That's okay. I'm Carrie Parker Warren, and I just want to talk about your protocol for your meetings. This is the first time that I have come to one of your joint meetings, and one of the commissioners, I could barely hear what you were saying with your mask on. Yes, you. And it seems like you were going far to the left and far to the right, so I never did understand what you were saying. To change those lines to include that complex out there, I agree with that too. But I want to go back to something Commissioner Chestnut said, and that is we have, every time somebody runs for a county commissioner, city commissioner, you come to our churches, you come to our homes, and you come to our community. But when you get back here, all you do is talk about it. Somebody said that we've been talking about this project for 3 years. It has been since the cooling of the earth. It's just that long. All you do is you make promises, 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 and it takes you years and hours to talk about it, and you don't get anywhere. I came here today to speak on something else, but I had to say that it seems like it's a lot of time that's wasted. And maybe that's your protocol to give everybody the opportunity to speak. But some people, you go off and you tell us all about your life and all of these things that are happening, and it's not important in the grand scheme of living or the grand scheme of getting things done on the east side. We want action. And you've been talking about it. And you say what you're going to do, but you never do it. If you've been talking about this project for so many years, you need to do something, even if it's wrong. Do something. And that's what we want to see on the east side. You say things are going and we can't see it with our eyes. Well, when are we going to see it with our eyes? You need to get some action going, because that's what we pay our taxes for on the east side of town, just like they do on the west side of town. But it takes you 3 years, 4 years, 30 years, 40 years. It doesn't take that long on the west side of town. But when it comes to the east side of town, we are really fed up. I sit in these meetings and really want to cry as to how we have been mistreated forever. And you continue to do it. Everything that they say they don't want on the west side, they don't get it. When it comes to the east side of town, if we say we don't want it, we have such bullheadedness that you don't pay us any attention. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Welcome.
My name is Wayne Fields. I am the president of Azalea Trails. The lady that you just heard from is Miss Carrie Parker Warren, and she's also from Azalea Trails. We are residents of the east side of Gainesville and have been for numerous years. These are great accomplishments for the CRA, Heartwood, the health hub, in addition to Citizens Field. I hope that it happens because it will affect the lives of many. If you need an example, go to Legacy Park in Alachua. In Sanford, go to the Big House and see what the development has taken place. This is the University of Florida City. This is Gainesville. It's a sports hub. So it would be a natural to do that. Here's the other thing that I'd like to ask. Is that red line covering the 16.4 acres that's next to Heartwood? Because according to what we were told in our last meeting, there's a developer who's going to put assisted living facilities for the homeless, and that it's already been approved. I'm coming to the CRA and to the joint meeting asking the city commission and the county commissioners to please don't allow another low-income facility to be built. Not on those 16.4 acres. We just had a meeting and over 200 people showed up because of that issue. How do I know? I was there. Commissioner Chestnut stopped by. She's come and visited the Azalea.
Yeah,
Commissioner
Mr.
Walker
Fields,
has visited the Azalea.
Mr. Fields, that's not part of the CRA plan at all.
But this is what I'm asking you, sir, to please make it, because 16.4 acres are going to be built next to Heartwood, which will, it makes no sense. It's right in the middle of Lincoln Estates. It's right behind Azalea Trails in North Lincoln Park. Please, I'm coming to tell you the residents don't want it. And if the CRA has funding, buy that property. It was sold, somebody approved the sale of it. How did they get funding for it? It sat there for 20 years and nobody made any fuss about it. The residents were so happy to see Heartwood. We're happy to see Citizens Field. Please, somebody up here, be a hero. Somebody up here, please be aware that we don't need another low income. We've got the Gainesville Housing Authority. We've got Carver Gardens. We've got Gardenia. Please help us. Listen to us.
Thank you, Mr. Fields. Have the next speaker, please. Welcome.
Thank you. I'll take my time and let it cool down. I'm Doris Edwards, and I live in Lincoln Estate, and I chair the Lincoln Estate neighborhood. First of all, I want to say thank you for having a joint meeting. I really love this, so I get some different opinions. In reference to the parcel that you're wanting to expand the CRA for, I am in 100% approval of this. I actually attended the recent meeting where they're bringing the RTS, the Urgent Care Center, as well as Gainesville Fire and Rescue. Gainesville Fire and Rescue has already been doing a lot of help with people who have opioid addictions, mental illness. And guess what? For East Gainesville, that's going to be a blessing. Because in East Gainesville, what we have that need those type of services, we have Alachua County Jail. We have the Juvenile Justice Department. We have Grace Marketplace. After 37 tries of putting Grace Marketplace in other quadrants of the city, it ended up back to the point of least resistance, East Gainesville. We got the St. Francis House. We got the Salvation Army. We've got layers of disparity that none of you that don't live in East Gainesville can ever dream of. It's thicker than macaroni and cheese. Disparity on disparity. Look at the chart from Alachua County, chart 7, and it will tell you even fires. There are more fires in East Gainesville than the entire quadrant of the city. So you look at what we have as far as housing, low rent housing. Let's start Main Street and go 39th Avenue, back up to Waldo Road, out to Eastside High School, back down Hawthorne Road, around to Woodland Park. That's East Gainesville, small quadrant of this city. And we house more than 22 low rent housing complexes. Just this small area. What we need is tax base. We need houses with yards. If you'll look at the statistics of a lot of the killings and all of the discord, it's coming from complexes that are boxed in. The children are being boxed in, the adults are being boxed in, they don't work, they're home all day, and it's causing chaos. So why do we want to build more of that? We need homes. The property that he's talking about, please purchase that property.
Thank you, Ms. Edwards.
Purchase that property and put some homes on that property. Let me tell you.
I'm sorry, Ms. Edwards. I got to be fair to everybody, and you've gone a little bit over.
I know, but you have to hear this.
I will.
I want you to do a little research on this.
I'll talk to you right after, but I got to be equal and fair to everybody. That's just how I have to do it. I wish it weren't so, but I can talk to you after, or we'll have general public comment in just a moment as well.
Okay. Thank
if
you.
You want to stick around for that. Could I have the next speaker, please? Anybody else?
Hello,
Howdy.
my name's Jacob Eide. I'm part of the CRA board. I'm in favor of this. It just makes so much sense to let us do something very transformative here, and I hope you prove it. Thanks.
Anybody else? Okay, Madam Chair, we've reached the end. I'll let you go ahead and call it.
Thank you. All right, commissioners, if there's no further comment, we'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. That motion passes 5-0.
Okay.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank y'all. I really appreciate it. We'll get that administratively taken care of as soon as we possibly can. Commissioner Ariola?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It was mentioned briefly in our conversation. This is for member comment. We're in that period.
Actually, the county has public comment ahead of member comment, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So, but we saw member comment, but the county has public comment on their agenda, so let's go ahead and take that.
I'll be deferred to the chair.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so this is an opportunity for general public comment. Any items that were not on our agenda today? Anybody?
Come on back up, George. Wow, great. The other things in the list mentioned by CRA. I cannot miss an opportunity to talk about the health facility that's being planned for East Gainesville, a facility that suits the expansion ambitions of Shands Hospital, but not the real health needs of people in East Gainesville. People in East Gainesville dealing with chronic diseases, diabetes, high blood pressure, sickle cell anemia, things like that that require a primary care physician and an ongoing care relationship. We do not need another fractured arm quick stop. We need primary care. And it's unfortunate letting Shans foist upon you what suits them. It demonstrates a bit of selfishness and a lack of reciprocity. This community gave them an entire hospital and they just tore it down. So we need some better behavior from them. Now, as far as the Heartwood project, you saw the chart showing the money for that. It didn't show the fact that that money, you're going to get the rare opportunity to spend the same money more than once. And they're going to build some of the homes on spec, and when they sell them, they'll be able to roll that back in to build a couple more homes on spec. And as they continue to market for households to come in and bid on lots for custom builds. So, but we do need more market rate housing on the east side. That's why we have food deserts and economic deserts, because of a high concentration of low-income persons. We need to get away from economically segregated housing. I see that over and over here. But along with that, we need to break up economically segregated housing elsewhere in the city. And abolishing single-family zoning is not going to magically change the pattern that's been established over the last 2 generations. That's not going to create more affordable housing in an expedited way going forward. Inclusionary zoning is what's going to make actual units going forward and disperse them in a way that we get mixed income housing. We need people with courage up here, courage to bring the future and turn the 2 separate Gainesvilles into one Gainesville. How many people do we have that value the positive future of this city over political ambition?
Thank you. Anybody else for general public comment? Ms. Edwards, you want to?
Thank you, Jesus. Commission. The Southeast 15th Street corridor is a part state and part city. That corridor is also a bike and pedestrian corridor for the state of Florida. When they have the bicycle rodeos all over town, that corridor is so beautiful. Most people meet down at Bulwar Springs, and they have all the bikes are decorated so beautiful, and they've got that form, and they're coming down 15th Street. Why am I telling you this? The housing that they're proposing will bring hundreds of cars, traffic, down that corridor. It'll bring that traffic off of Waldo Road, down Dr. Cullen Banks Street, and right on to Southeast 15th Street. Two areas that really do not need that extra traffic. And everybody that lives in those apartments also have lots of people that visit. So please, let's look at this corridor not being eradicated with extra traffic. We need to protect them. We need to do some research. There's a name, I tried to find it. There's a name that goes with that corridor. And what we want to do is to teach our children about that corridor, and let's beautify that. Let's make that stand out. So if you would please do some research on that, because that's in our area and we're proud of that. Right? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Edwards. Anybody else for general public comment?
Thank you for the second opportunity. I know some of us learn by repetition, so I'm back to say the same thing today that I said a couple of weeks ago, and that we want exclusionary zoning to remain in our neighborhoods. I know that there are other issues on the ballot this year, but that is the issue that we're having on the east side of town. We not beg you, but we urge you to step up to the plate and be a hero today for the east side of town. I know we already have some heroes on both of these commissions, and we certainly thank you. I'm not going to threaten anybody, but we may not win because we understand that we don't have the votes to keep exclusionary zoning in our community. But we are going to work as diligently, as hard as we can to vote our friends in on the city commission and the county commission. You may not be running, Mr. Mayor, a second time, but I bet you we'll see your face in another race. We're going to vote for our friends. We are looking for heroes today that will listen to us on the east side of town and not mess it up like you have done the Fifth Avenue area. We want to keep our picket white fences in our neighborhood. We want to keep our friends next to us. We want our children to be in a safe neighborhood. We don't want our property values to go down. So step up to the plate, get our votes, and be our heroes.
Thank you, and you don't have to take my word for it, but you can absolutely take my wife's word for it that you will not see me running for anything else ever again. That is the spouse guarantee. Anybody else for public comment? 100%. All right. Madam Chair, thank you. I think we've reached the end of public comment. We do have member comment now. First up, we have Commissioner Ariola.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to go back to the CRA discussion. There was a brief mention of the grocery store. I think we are now at a point, and the last conversation I had with the city manager was that the staff is essentially waiting on additional direction from us to move forward. That money is still set aside. The $3.1 million is still set aside for the grocery store. I would be remiss to not give direction from this commission because my biggest concern would be that future commissions would reallocate that money elsewhere if we don't have proper steps taken forward. So in the spirit of taking action for the east side, I would like to ask that the commission approve a motion to request that staff return with a request for proposals for an east side grocery store, and I make that a motion.
I would really urge you, Commissioner, that you refer that to GPC so we can have a discussion. That's
Mr. Mayor.
None of us were prepared today to talk about that, and it deserves a longer conversation. We're still committed to it, but I would like to have a meeting to discuss it and have a good, long discussion where we're all focused on it.
Mr. Mayor, if I might interject.
I mean, we can, if there is a second, I didn't hear a second, but
Mr.
go ahead,
Mayor,
Madam
Chair.
Manager, yes.
Just want to make sure that the numbers need to be revisited because it's not the 3 million, but again, I'm not trying to put more information on the table than I need to at this time. But the 3 million is not the correct amount. And if any vote is taken, I just wanted to make sure that we.
Thank you for that clarification. I would love to have this
I would like
conversation.
to get clarification on that because my understanding was that we had set $3.1 million for the grocery store.
Yes, sir. What happened is that the board did commit a 3 million plus out of ARPA funds. It was earmarked. It had not been appropriated. When the reprioritization of ARPA monies took place, the grocery store fell off. What is in the hopper for the grocery store is GCRA funding. And for the current year right now, in terms of the expend budget, is about 1.1 million. And when you take it out over 7 years, it's a little over 6 million. But the 3 million that was originally earmarked out of ARPA is no longer earmarked.
So I think this just goes more to my original point. If we don't take action, it's not going to be a priority anymore. And I asked specifically to have this on a previous joint meeting agenda, and we didn't even have that meeting. So I would very much like to at least give staff the direction to return with the request for proposals. This isn't to say that we're putting out the request for proposals immediately. We're going to get a chance to work on that, this commission, and set it up for the next commission so that they can take the action. So I stay with my motion language, even without the specific dollar amount.
Okay, thank you. There wasn't a second. I would like to put that on the GPC very soon, and we can ask our staff to be prepared to talk about what the parameters for an RFP would look like at that time. And I would like to hear at that meeting too, because I know there's been a lot of work over at the county on food security, and I'd like to get at that time an update on sort of what the county's doing so we can make sure to not be redundant, but sort of augment that. So I will make sure that when we have our administrative session for the next GPC schedule, that we make that a priority and we make sure that we address that. Commissioner Duncan Walker.
How sad.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to just take a moment to acknowledge many of
the members of District 1 who have shown up here today and spoken so passionately about what it means to live in a community that you move into, and some of these instances were redlined into because of the way that things were, and even to this day continue to be. But people who want to see their communities evolve in a certain way, because that's the way they envisioned it when they went in. I thank them for being here today. I thank them for speaking up and speaking out. And regardless as to what it feels like or what you think, you are being heard. You are being heard. I think some of the most profound statements and actions that I've seen from a community have come out during this time. Wouldn't it be great if we didn't have to do it this way? Yet at the same token, it is a measure of strength that you all have shown, and I want to say thank you. Someone recounted not wanting to see what happened at Seminary Lane. And I think that has become a touch point. It's become a reference point for so many when we start talking about the way that communities grow. And I think it's certainly a learning experience. It's one that all of us should take note of. You're being heard. This is not the end. You know what to do. Keep doing it. I want to say, too, and I see that Kali has left. Kali brought up a point that is very, very important to me. He mentioned the idea of healthcare, and this commission is familiar with where I've stood with healthcare in East Gainesville. I want to choose my words here carefully. We're getting a clinic. We know we need more. And so the goal is that as we head towards this wonderful list that we're creating, there may be something that appears on that list that gives us the opportunity to expand healthcare. That's certainly what I would love to see. And it's certainly what I'm already pushing for. So in whatever way that my colleagues are willing or have the appetite to do, I look forward to any support that you may provide for that as we move forward. We know that the disparities have been long-standing, and right now we are dealing with the fallout from that. I've used my father as an example so many times when he contracted COVID. The reason that it almost took him out of here was he had all of the associated issues that could have caused his death, from diabetes to high blood pressure, and so many things that the African American community is plagued with. at rates that our counterparts are not. And so it becomes crucial that we pay attention to that. I don't want to give too much, but there are ways that those can specifically be addressed with specific medical centers that cater to and specialize in that work. We have room and we have opportunity. I don't ever want it to be lost that I don't want to see a grocery store in East Gainesville. God knows I do. I would love to be able to walk just a few short blocks around the corner or down the street to a grocery store that I now have to drive several miles to get to. It is so important that that be done in the right way. Commissioner Prizia, you and I have had the opportunity to work jointly on the food committee, and it's been a wonderful opportunity to do that. I look forward to continuing that work so that we can make sure that whatever the grocery store is, or help to inform the policy that's created around that, whatever grocery store comes into East Gainesville is one that is going to serve the existing communities in the best way and one that will be sustainable. Making sure that the residents have the opportunity to voice their concerns on the front end is critical, it's crucial. We've heard a lot of that, and I look forward to continuing more of that. So the grocery store is a major, major piece. There's so many major, major pieces. We could literally be here the rest of the night talking about all of the needs. So I get particularly excited when I hear you talking about East Gainesville and the need to do more. But I want to say something to Commissioner Chuck Chestnut. I hear you and I agree 1,000%. You want some assurances, but I can tell you, as a District 1 Commissioner, I'm going to fight like heck to make sure that the change that we have said we want to see, that we are going to commit to, actually moves forward. Several months ago, I had a conversation, actually a few conversations with our city manager and who was then the leader of GCRA, and asked some critical, tough questions because they needed to be asked. And frankly, one of the questions was, where's the money and where are the products for what we've already paid for? Those are critical questions. And so it is exciting to me to see that things have been reorged. I think we are facing a new beginning. That does give me some hope, but you are right. We need to be ever vigilant and we need to be accountable. Please know that from this side, I have always been about accountability. And I've been working hand in hand with our city manager so far to make sure that that continues. We have one of the greatest opportunities now that we may never see again in any of our tenures up here to do the most good for the community that needs us the most. And I am thrilled to hear from all of you that you want to do the work. I'm just looking forward to taking the necessary steps forward to getting it done. We'll have some new things that we're rolling out. I have some things that I'm going to be bringing to GPC, et cetera, and that I'm going to be asking for one-on-ones with you for. So accept my calls, okay? No, you always do, and I appreciate that. But I look forward to doing the work. I believe the winds of change are blowing. And I, for one, am excited because I think we have not just the resources, but I think we have the people now to actually get this done. And we will hold the right folks accountable, and we will ourselves be accountable. Thank you for your time today and listening to my ruminating. I love District 1. I love this city. And I love District 1. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you, Commissioner. Now, real quick, I want to just share that in the conversations I've had with UF Health on that project, I don't want to call it just a clinic because they are highly motivated to make it so much more than that. They are desperate that it's not just that. And so they see that as a resource for families throughout the area. They're looking at dental, they're looking at general family care, they're looking at preventative medicine. And they're looking at doing that in a new way that really reaches out deep into the community and sort of figures out what the priorities are. So we'll continue to keep both commissions in the loop as those discussions progress, but I just can tell you from the very top, from Dr. Nelson's mouth, he absolutely is motivated to want to make that so much more than just a walk-in clinic. So that should be good news, and it's going to be up to a lot of you to sort of follow through and look at, the next step in building that up. But the willingness is there.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that. I did just want to add, much like you said a little bit earlier.
That's something that we want those assurances on as well.
Absolutely.
Because I can vividly remember when we had the very first conversation that I was a part of with him, I specifically asked for that. I asked for the phased out plan. I'm glad to hear that it's now a part of the conversation. I never got the phased out idea, but if that's what he's saying he wants to do, that's wonderful to hear. So now it's just a matter of doing it.
Absolutely.
We want to see it done. Thank you.
Absolutely. I think that's Commissioner Ward, is that correct?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very briefly, I want to thank my county commission colleagues for allowing this to move forward. It's a big deal. I mean, it allows it to be a very different project than it would be otherwise. And as someone who's been working on this and talking about this since 2017, Commissioner Cynthia Chestnut and I went over to UF way back in 17 or 18 to have conversations with them about being a part of this. We've been working on moving this forward a long time, and I'm really thrilled to see us get that much closer to getting it done. As far as the property on Southeast 15th Street, I know that is not a city project going in there. I heard today that the county has some skin in the game on that. I don't know much of anything about the project. I'm going to learn more about it, but I know it is not a city project, and I'm looking forward to learning more about what it is and how far it is, and what the opportunities to make changes there might be. So, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Cornell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Commissioner Ward and Commissioner Duncan Walker, for those comments. And to the folks that are here tonight, I really appreciate you being here. On the Hartward project, so I don't know if my colleagues are actually aware of this. We've been on commission break for 2 weeks. I attended a meeting at Lincoln last week. And so I'm going to be asking staff to bring us back to history as to what's happened, what's going on, and exactly where we are. And so I will be following up, and I know our county commission will be interested in that. What I would like to speak about tonight, though, really is something that is coming up with the City Commission on Thursday, which I want to just express my opinion about the upcoming August 4th meeting and the actual proposal to eliminate single-family zoning. I too, like each of my county commission colleagues, those that were elected and Commissioner Remy Eagle Glenn, who was appointed, we represent everyone in the city of Gainesville. Each of us represents all of you in the city of Gainesville. And so I feel the need, I feel the importance of bringing this up at this joint meeting, because I really think this has been a great meeting. This has been we've moved some things forward, and we don't get an opportunity to speak to each other publicly enough, and so this is the opportunity. So I'm going to take it if I could. I just need a minute or two. And I also understand kind of the source of how this came up, the desire to address affordable housing. It is one of our primary issues on both sides of the street, and I want to commend the City Commission for the recent action of applying an additional $8 million of Affordable Care Act money to this issue. We too are applying some of our Affordable Care Acts to permanent supportive housing. And so I think both boards are taking a big step with regards to that issue. I've been on the campaign trail and I've been talking to every one of the folks running for office at the city. And I will tell you that virtually without exception, there may be one or two, every single candidate running for the city commission, which there are 4 spots, has expressed a desire to oppose this upcoming change in single-family residential zoning. They've even said to me, Ken, if this passes, what will happen is it'll get transmitted to the state may oppose it. If they don't, it'll get ultimately adopted. A lawsuit will then ensue, which will put it on pause. What will then happen is the election will have already happened, and 4 new people will be sworn in on January 1st, and they will probably reverse it immediately. Because if there's 2 votes here, and everyone that said they're going to reverse it wants to reverse it, that becomes 6 votes or 5. But that's ultimately what's going to happen. And so what I would ask my colleagues that are considering moving this forward, and I've heard there's 4 of you, just reconsider. Listen to the citizens on Thursday, who I represent, who all of the county commissioners represent, and just listen to their thoughts. There are phase-in plans. There are other potential opportunities to address the issue that we're trying to address, which is affordable housing. I think if you adopt this, it actually have the reverse effect. And I don't only think it. 1,000 Friends of Florida are against it. Your own Affordable Housing Advisory Committee is unanimously against it. And so I am personally against it. Virtually everyone that I'm talking to on the campaign trail has expressed significant concerns about changing single-family residential zoning. And so I'm going to actually put a motion on the floor for my county commissioners to consider. And I would move that the county commission officially and formally oppose the upcoming change at the city of Gainesville to eliminate single-family residential zoning, or said another way, to oppose the proposed elimination of exclusionary zoning. So that's my motion.
I second.
And thank you, Commissioner. And the reason I want to just put that on the floor is you all have the authority to do whatever you want. But it's important that you hear from the county commissioners, your advisory board, the citizens, that we don't think this is a good idea. And again, I represent the folks that are telling you we don't think this is a good idea. And so I think it's important that you at least, if this passes at the county commission, that you at least consider that as well. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second to that, that we stand in opposition to. Yep. All right, to inclusion in housing. Okay, elimination of single-family housing. All right, then. All right.
Do you want to take the rest of these commission comments and then public comment on that motion?
We will. Yes, we'll have to.
Okay.
I think so.
Commissioner Aprizio?
Well, I'll start by responding to my colleague and saying that while I agree with everything that you just said, I do feel that it's worth us actually having a conversation as a deliberative body about this issue and getting feedback from our staff about the impact that this kind of decision would have on the county before taking action as a board to oppose or approve something. I feel like that kind of motion is something that's should be about the impact that a comprehensive plan change or a zoning change has on another jurisdiction, not just sort of, I mean, I agree with you. I know. I guess I would be more in favor of us. I mean, I think you're doing it in a way, but I guess is to, to make a motion to ask the city, to formally ask the city commission to defer this vote and to have more deliberations and discussions with the community about this issue because they've heard loud and clear from their own advisory committees, from their community constituents, from organizations and individuals who represent hundreds of thousands of their citizens and their neighbors that they don't want this. And I think that a lot of that is actually about process and not even about the issue. I think that in a lot of instances, from the people that I've heard from that are saying they don't want it, they don't even realize that their neighborhoods already have multifamily zoning, or at least already have multi-unit zoning in their neighborhoods. And so a lot of this is about the way it was rolled out and the way that the community wasn't involved in the process to begin with and wasn't allowed to understand it and to be a part of making the process, making the actual, I guess, policy written in a way that they would understand it and they could support it. And I think that if they spent the time to do that work, they could probably have a policy that would pass instead of one that's good, or they would have one that the community could support instead of one that's going to get repealed in a couple months. But I guess I have a hard time, as a county taking a stand to oppose something that's about, without having sort of substantive information about the impact that it would have on the county. That's hard for me. That's hard for me. But I do oppose it. I have to say, I do as an individual, as a neighbor, and as somebody who lives in your city, I oppose it. And I oppose it primarily, I have to say, based on process and the fact that the community was not involved and was not engaged in a meaningful way in having the conversation about what you were trying to get to, and that the potential options for how to achieve what you're trying to achieve were not presented. And in general, I'll just say I think planning should be done with a scalpel and not a sledgehammer. But that's a lesson for another day. So I guess, if I have to decide between opposing it and supporting it, I definitely oppose it. So I guess I would support the motion, but I really feel like we should have more information and as a deliberative body discuss this before we just do it as a commission comment.
Okay.
And I don't know if I'm doing the rest of am I doing my commission comment now, or are we talking to the motion?
No, we're talking to this motion.
So we're coming back to commission comment.
Yeah, if you'll just hit your light again, just to remind me.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Ward, is that correct?
Not me.
Oh, Commissioner Santos, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. Disappointed that the County Commission has put this motion on the floor. I do appreciate Commissioner Prizio on your deliberation. Many members here came up and asked why is low rent housing getting built in Southeast Gainesville? That was by design by commissions decades ago to put in place exclusionary zoning, and that's why in Northwest Gainesville it doesn't really happen up there. There's no room to build, and there's no room to build. So by allowing more housing to get built, it spreads the housing across the city instead of just concentrating in one area. The discussion of exclusionary zoning is not a unique thing to Gainesville. Ending exclusionary zoning is a national issue, and that is why you've seen national leaders take stances on it. Ending it is not easy either. The local level, but the right decisions are many times the hardest decisions to make. I do have you talk about kind of why doing stuff like that, but I mean, at the national level, they have the most research, the most data looking at these things. And I have a question for the County Commission. And so the Obama administration, the Biden administration, Senator Warren, Senator Sanders, Senator Booker, Congresswoman AOC, many others, all national housing groups, all say that ending exclusionary zoning will make housing more affordable, reduce environmentally disastrous urban sprawl, and will reduce displacement. Do you not believe that they are what they're saying? Do you think they're lying? I guess that's my question. Because that's our president is saying and rolled out. This is how you can address these issues through doing this, through ending exclusionary zoning. That's part of one of the number one things they say the local governments can do is end exclusionary zoning. There's not an easy path forward, and I hope that we can move forward with it. And it'll be a tough decision, but it will be the best thing for our city. And I thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Before I go back to you, Commissioner Cornell, and I know, I think Commissioner Percy, I heard you say you wanted to respond to those comments as well. You know, this has been a long and difficult process. We're going to have a meeting Thursday, and we're going to hear from our neighbors. We've heard from a lot of neighbors up to this point, and we're going to make a decision. And that's what we were elected to do. Sometimes there is overwhelming community opposition to things that end up being a good idea. And I remember an issue with the county. Man, it ate up all the headlines, and every meeting was packed with folks. It was about the Archer Braid Trail going out through Hale. And the neighbors out there overwhelmingly showed up to speak against it. Overwhelmingly. You would have thought nobody in Alachua County wanted that trail. We knew there were, and also the folks that were making decisions knew why it was so important to our entire mobility network to do it. And so eventually, the county voted differently than the mass of folks they heard from, because they felt it was the right policy decision. And it was going to help people get from point A to point B safely, and it was going to be in the long-term best interest of the community. "98% of the folks that I've heard from on this are pure in their intention and thought and are passionate for all the right reasons, and I respect that. Smart, dedicated, compassionate people can disagree on big policy ideas. That's okay. It's a democracy. Commissioner Cornell, I am disappointed that I'm fine with you expressing your own personal opinion, as Commissioner Prizzi just did. But you have fought long and hard for home rule authority and pushed back when the state has gotten involved in local matters. And one of the most basic local areas of authority is setting land use and zoning patterns. You do it, we do it. We're affected by what you do. I feel that it is inappropriate for you as a body to, especially as Commissioner Prizzi said, without any of your own analysis or information, which we have plenty and we can share it with you. We have shared it. It's been out in the public for 9 months at least now. But you're going to do what you're going to do, and you know, I'm guessing at this point you see 3 or 4 of us that are no longer going to be here in a few months, and so your relationship with us as a body will be different, and so what that relationship is now is unimportant. I would have been fine hearing your individual positions on this and taking them into consideration, just as I had every other person I've heard from. But it is not in the best interest of the relationship between these two bodies for us to be telling the other how to do one of their most basic functions that is exclusive to them. And I wish you would reconsider your motion. We've heard from you, and I think that is what is in the best long-term interest of how well these two bodies do or don't function on some very important matters. Back to you, Commissioner Cornell.
No, I intend to respond, but I'd like to hear from my colleagues before I respond, because I want to respond to.
The only other person is
Commissioner
Commissioner Prizia.
All right, does anybody else want to speak to the motion on our board?
There's no other lights. Okay, Commissioner Chestnut? Oh, Commissioner Chestnut, okay.
Thank you. I think that I can understand why Ken put the motion on the floor, but I do believe that there's a sense of the public who have been screaming that they don't agree with this that's going to happen. And I think they want to be heard. I don't know if they have been heard. I haven't been following the process, but I do read the paper, so and I do hear comments from the public sometimes when I'm in the grocery store and stuff like that in terms of their feels on issues. But I think Ken is just trying to say in solidarity that, you know, we don't agree with it, but if you guys do, then so be it. But he just wanted to make that known that we think differently. At least I'm speaking from Chuck. You know, and I agree, home rule authority, I've always supported home rule authority. I think each entity of government has the right to do whatever they want to do. But it's not for me to dictate, but it's just for me to suggest to you to reconsider or look at it again, to reconsider or at least listen to the public during the comments that you receive. So that's just my feel about it. But I think that the only way he could do it, we can't talk about this issue individually. You know, we have to do it as a body. And if we do, we violate sunshine law. So that's the reason, you know, I think that he brought this to feel out where we are too in the process, in terms of how we support it or not support it. But, you know, my political career, I've always listened to the citizens, and I have evaluated, you know, what staff says and stuff like that too. But, you know, I've always leaned more toward the citizens with my voting. So not always the way the citizen want it, but it's always been fair. And that's all I'm asking, that you be fair and consider what the folks are saying. You know, but I think that this was the only way Ken could get it across in terms of how we feel as a commission about it to some degree. And I don't think it's to infringe on your home rule authority, but it's just to say to you that this is an important issue, and we've heard a lot from citizens also, in that we just ask that you reconsider some of your positions, that's all. So, and it's just a way, it might not seem friendly, you know, because if it was made across the street against us, I might feel the same way, to be honest with you. So let's be realistic. So, but I think it was just a way to get across how we feel about what we think about it, that's all. And, you know, I don't want to prolong this, but I think that it's just being fair to you guys, and I understand that you're home rule authority, and you definitely have that authority in the decision. I guess my only comments, and I'll shut up after this, is just please listen to the citizens and reconsider some of your issues and concerns. Thank you.
Commissioner Prizzi?
I guess to respond to Commissioner Hayes Santos' question, I do believe that a number of the individuals that you've mentioned and the organizations that you sort of referenced or sort of pointed to by referencing those individuals do have good ideas and do understand both the policy and the logistics of what happens on the ground when you do certain land use planning ideas. However, I think that what has happened in this instance, as I already said, is that the process by which you all went about this didn't take into consideration your community. It didn't take the time to have the conversations and do the education in the community that was necessary in order to craft a policy that was both good and sound from trying to move forward inclusionary zoning, and something that your constituents and neighbors, the people you represent, could understand and accept. And that, to me, is the problem with this situation. It isn't that what you're proposing is necessarily awful. I don't agree. I particularly don't agree with what if we want to call it the commission's version versus the staff version. I think I don't agree with the commission version. I think your staff's version is a better version of what you're trying to do. It's simpler, easier to understand. But anyway, that's details. The point is, yes, I think those people are right. I still don't think it's right for you guys to move forward with this right now. And I would ask, that if you are, that you at least take the consideration of what your community has asked in terms of expanding the space and the time for your community to provide input into this policy decision. And to Mayor Poe, the Archer Braid Trail is a little bit of a herring, because that was neighbors in a neighborhood making noise about not wanting a trail in their backyard. And they were a very vocal minority, and they were there in droves to make sure that we heard them loud and clear. And you're right that the trail was for the greater good of the community, but you are hearing from every segment of your community that they're not in favor of this. Every segment of the community. I have heard from the East Side community, the Black community, the white community, the single family community, the multifamily community, the religious community, the neighbors community. I mean, I have heard from every sector, everywhere I go in this town. It's the only conversation that's being had when people are talking about policy, that they're not in favor and that they don't even like it. And most of them actually don't even understand it. And so, but they're already not in favor of it, And so it's like, we just haven't even had there wasn't even time to have the conversation. And so that to me is the point, and why I think that you need to take a step back. And I do find it interesting that at this stage you all are talking about the need for action. It's like you want the action, then you want the time for deliberation. You want the freedom, and then you want it. And so we go from one step to the other. At 1 minute you got to push it through. It has to happen now, and it needs to happen now or never, and that you're the only ones that could possibly create it and do it. And on the other hand, you want community engagement, and you want process, and you want things to be done the right way. And I think you can't have it sometimes and then not have it that way the other time. So I'll leave it there. I do think that we should only make a decision as a deliberative body for the county when we have analysis and an understanding of how it's going to impact our county. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense from a home rule perspective, though. So,
Chair Wheeler.
I've been listening to everybody, and I'm trying to put my thoughts together very quickly on this so that I don't run on and on and on. But it seems to me the experience that we've had at the county is that there's a higher authority, and that the higher authority has infiltrated our government here in Alachua County in a way that, if we have a higher authority, and if the county has the authority at this point then to step in and block anything going further to Tallahassee, so that we have to then worry about whether Tallahassee is going to come in and expand, its influence here in this community, I would feel more comfortable with the county, who we represent all of these folks too, that we take the authority away from Tallahassee and take care of these issues here. We've already seen that, we have our representative and our senator who is eyeing this very carefully. And I would rather us take responsibility for our own business here rather than have it taken to Tallahassee. So, and I understand too the lack of trust we have in our developers. It's gotten worse over the years as we've had developments presented to us in a way that feels palatable, and then all of a sudden these things change. And oftentimes the developers don't always take into consideration the needs of the community. And so I would, I do think this is quick, and I think this is, directly to the point that Commissioner Cornell is trying to bring this forward now. But we do run out of time. You all are getting ready to have your meeting Thursday. We are looking at an election coming up August 23rd. Things are going to be changing very quickly here. And like I say, I've watched that development come on Fifth Avenue and 12th Street up there. And a lot of those developments similar to that have gone against everything that we hold dear in this community. So I would support us as a body stepping forward and taking the authority away from Tallahassee to come with an opinion for the citizens of Gainesville. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Cornell, do you want to take Commissioner Glenn Eagle's comments before yours? Yep.
Yes, just your analysis of the motion currently on the table. It has no legal effect. It's a recommendation for reconsideration. It has no teeth. So therefore, I don't see how it would be stepping on anybody's home rule. Thank you.
Commissioner Cornell.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, right now, we're elected at large. And, that's on the ballot. That may change. If we were elected single-member districts, we wouldn't have an opportunity to speak because I wouldn't represent everyone in Gainesville. I represent everyone in Gainesville. Commissioner Remy Eagle Glenn represents everyone in Gainesville. Commissioner Prizia represents everyone in Gainesville, as does Commissioner Chestnut and Commissioner Wheeler. That's what this is about. My constituents have been hollering at me for 2 weeks on commission break, which I appreciate because I do appreciate it. I need you hollering at me. So my representatives have been saying, do something. And Commissioner Prizia, to respond, I intend, if this passes, it's a comp plan amendment, we then will have an opportunity to ask our staff to review in detail and comment formally to the state and to the city in writing our opposition or our in favor of. So that process is going to happen. We weren't asked. If we were asked, maybe we could have had a deliberative discussion to your point. Unfortunately, this is Thursday, and here we are, we're all together. So this is the only real opportunity, and to Commissioner Remy Eagle Glenn's point, we're not taking away any home rule. We're just saying, if y'all are interested, like maybe you're interested in the 1,000 Friends of Florida, or maybe you're interested in your own advisory board. If you're interested in our opinion, we're all against it. Hopefully we're all against it. That's all I'm saying. I'd ask you to actually maybe delay it and spend more time and take more time. That would be great, but we don't have time. Here we are. It's Monday and this is on Thursday. So the motion is simply just saying, as a county commission, if it passes, we are opposed to that change, and maybe that prompts you to say, let's take more time. That's a huge win. I'd love to have a joint meeting where this is all we talked about. And if this was on the agenda, we could do that. And maybe if this gets delayed, we can do that. But that's all this motion is. And it is not intended to take away your home rule at all. It's intended to tell you directly, since we're together, how we feel about a pretty significant issue that is affecting the entire city that we represent, as well as you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, invite members of the public up to speak to the motion. Well,
good, what is it, afternoon, evening? Where are we? My name is Gary Gordon. I want to thank Commissioner Cornell for bringing this forward. And I want to thank the various commissioners for several of the comments. Everybody knows that I'm opposed to doing away with what is called exclusionary zoning. So there's not too much reason to reiterate that. The word heard has been used a lot tonight. I hear you. Please hear us. Have you heard us? In my experience, in the last 4 years on these kinds of issues, and especially going door to door, it's not about process. It's about the issue. People don't want the elimination of single-family zoning. They're aware of it. I went door to door in 2 different neighborhoods with the petition, and everybody in the neighborhood had already signed it. I mean, they know they don't want it. Now, calm down. I'm particularly insulted by Commissioner Hayes Santos' remark. I bet everybody in this room, or maybe 98% of the people in this room, voted for President Biden. That doesn't mean we want President Biden or the people working for him to decide what we're going to do with land use and zoning here in Gainesville. I mean, I thought Lyndon Johnson was a great president domestically, but his foreign policy was an absolute disaster. He got a lot of people killed. So we don't look to presidents to solve everything, or we don't look to ourselves to agree with a president on everything that goes on. I could care less what Biden has to say about this, or Obama, or any other national group that you can pull out, because Kim Tanzer can pull out an equally qualified and credentialed group to say the opposite. I mean, there's plenty of people around the country that are saying building up is not something that protects the environment. You don't read those studies, or you haven't seen those studies, but they're equally valid to the ones that you cite saying we've got to build up and not sprawl, as if there's ever been a quid pro quo with the county or the other cities in the county that they won't sprawl if Gainesville builds up. So this whole thing has, for 4 years, had nothing to do with affordable housing. It's had to do with some kind of ridiculous agenda to recharacterize the city of Gainesville and turn it into something that it isn't. Take away the quality of life that we enjoy here with our neighborhoods and replace it with a fantasy land for developers and outside investors.
Thank you,
And
Mr.
we
Burke.
are opposed to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have our next speaker, please? Welcome back.
Please excuse me, but I needed to say this. I want to thank every commissioner up there, because we came in here to get some heroes today, and we have succeeded. Thank you very much. And after we leave this meeting, we have a community meeting at Lincoln Middle School. And I want to step into that meeting this afternoon and call every commissioner that joined our team and that agreed to be our heroes. And thank you, Commissioner Cornell, for bringing that up. Thank you, everybody. Cynthia Chestnut and Desmond Walker, if it were not for them, we would be sitting in the yard talking with our neighbors today, because we wouldn't know very much about it. And they saw that we had a workshop and we were educated on what is about to happen. So I really want to say thank you to all our heroes today.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak to the motion? Welcome.
Good evening. I'm Casey Fitzgerald. I'm the president of the Gainesville Neighborhood Voices, Inc., which just formed officially about a week ago. And our primary purpose for forming was to try to at least defer this action that you're proposing on the 4th. We have a lot of technical, qualified people who have looked at this, and we see no way that this is going to accomplish what you're saying it's going to accomplish. You all have admitted it's not going to happen in any near future. So in my lifetime, this is not going to solve affordable housing in Gainesville. It's going to cause innumerable adverse side effects, primarily in the black neighborhoods nearby between, well, here and the university. The gentrification rate is going to skyrocket. Those are the people who are going to be most affected here. And those are the people, we have a very nice mix on our board of black, white folk, and we're very united in fighting this on their behalf. I will say that I sent you a letter today, the commissioners, city commissioners, to request at a minimum that you find a new, that you postpone and that you find a new venue for this event on Thursday. I know we'll be able to have 30 people in this room. You may have 30 or 40 downstairs. You may have a few out in the hallway. There could be 200 to 300 people here. They're going to be standing outside in the heat, waiting for a chance to speak, and you're only going to give the whole lot of us 4 hours based on your latest conclusion at your meeting of the General Policy Committee the other day. So that seems highly inappropriate to treat your citizens that way. When the county had a situation that was this high visibility, they got a venue on the east side of town for Plum Creek. There must have been 300 people there. The meeting lasted as long as it took for everybody to have their say, and they had a decision that was made that the people supported. So most importantly, if you're going to continue with this process, you should do it in a way that's fair to your citizens. And Mayor, I have to say that the other day in the General Policy Committee meeting, you fully recognized that this was a problem. You said, we fully intended to try to do that, i.e. find another venue, but notice was already sent that it was set for City Hall. Well, that's not a reason to proceed. If you think it's a bad idea, then you take a step back and do what you think you ought to do for your citizens so they can properly, say their piece. So, and again, the Plum Creek issue is a much better example than the, Archer Braid Trail. And just one final thing, I guess, Mr. Santos, Hayes Santos, you're saying a lot of people are recommending this. The only place I know of in the country there are a few. There's nobody in Florida that's done it. There are a few in the country that have done it. Minneapolis did it, and after 2 years of litigation, it got reversed on environmental reasons. So it's not proven, and I recommend you postpone, if not abandon. Thank you.
Mr. Fitzgerald. Anybody else? Motion on the floor? Welcome.
Thank you. Kim Tanzer. I'd like to thank the county commissioners and Commissioner Cornell for your support of this issue. As all of you know, I've been focusing on it quite a bit in the past few years. I have lots and lots of information, and I have on many occasions tried to have conversations with our city commissioners, and always the staff are sent forward, or it's a Zoom meeting, or it's 3-minute comments. So it's really not been possible to have a meaningful conversation on this important issue, and I wish that we could have that opportunity. Maybe someday we will. I'd like to say to Commissioner Pritzia that actually one of the major problems with the plan as it's been proposed is there is no data. The city hired a real estate consulting firm that does economic development work. They prepared a report. Even in their own report, which is labeled a draft report, the data does not support going in this direction. So what the commission has primarily is a long list of newspaper clippings from other progressive cities that have done things. And for people in my field, which is architecture, for those who don't know, that doesn't count. That's not evidence of how it would work here. So we really have very little to go on if we were to move forward, and there's been very little study of our own city in terms of what its needs are. And both in the reports, the backup reports, and in other places, the numbers of housing, the kind of housing that we need at the price points that we need is unknown at this point. The city has hired a housing consultant who seems to be doing a good job, but he's just starting his work. I am a lifelong liberal Democrat. I have read the Biden, Harris, Obama plans. I don't agree with everything that they say on any issue, but in particular, all of those plans talk about engaging the community and tailoring solutions to fit your local community, not just grabbing item 16 off of one page of one report and running with it, which is what's unfortunately happened in the city. And so I really object to the fact that I'm described as being not a proper Democrat for not agreeing with what those particular pages of those particular reports say. And I'd also like to say that as a Caucasian person, it pains me deeply to see white men telling our black community what racial justice is. I wish you would listen to the people who have lived it for their entire lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have anybody else that wishes to speak to the motion? Anybody else? Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. I'll let you get back for the vote.
All right, Commissioners, any further comments from you? All right, all in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Like sign opposed. That motion
Okay,
passes.
is there any other member comment at this time? Okay.
I do have, I just have one very quick one. I just want to remind the city that the surtax that we're trying to get passed in the fall too will give us extra funding for some of these projects that we're talking about. So it'll be another source of income that we can count on if that surtax passes.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Prizia?
Yeah, I guess I wanted to say that I'm really disappointed that you all couldn't support Commissioner Ariola's motion to move forward on the RFP for the grocery store. You said it's because you needed to talk about it, but we've had 2 joint meetings about the grocery store where we talked about local food access and healthy food access and nutrition access and the grocery store at length. And you all had a meeting where you all discussed it at length. And we already had a motion where you all agreed to move forward with that before you got an unsolicited proposal that failed. So the fact that you weren't willing now to move forward with what you already said you'd move forward, after you just told me with this, it's just a little bit of action, it's been 5 years, and why can't we get something going, and it's just a little line we got to move in the sand, and all he was trying to do was get motion moving forward on the grocery store, which we've committed to the east side of Gainesville for years. I mean, talk about 3 years. This is like 20 years we've been talking about access to healthy food on the east side. And all he was asking for was for you guys to move forward with it, starting the process for an RFP for the grocery store. I was also really dismayed to find out that the money that you set aside for the grocery store is now gone. The ARPA money, the $3.1 million that was set aside, is now no longer available to be able to do the grocery store, and that's really, really disappointing. I did hear that there's eventually, I guess I got $6 million going to be available for the food and mobility hub. I think that means both the mobility side of things, the transit side of things, and the food side of things. So I wanted to get clarification on that.
Sure.
Mr. Mayor, Madam Chairwoman, so GCRA funding, current year 1.1 million. If you take that out for the balance of 7 years, it's a little over 6.
That's for food and transit?
That's just food. That's just the food
The
hub.
food hub. Okay. I guess I wanted to also give you all a bit of a definition difference. A grocery store, y'all know what a grocery store is. I don't need to give you an education on what a grocery store is. You've been there. You probably go to Publix a couple times a week. A food hub is something very different. A food hub is a place where you aggregate, process, value add, and prepare food for distribution. Potentially, it can have a grocery component. Potentially, it can have a distribution component where it actually has trucks and it moves things around. Potentially, it could have a value-added space like a kitchen where you can make commercial kitchen where you could like can stuff or process stuff or make salsas. Potentially, it can have a warehouse where it just stores stuff and aggregates and grades stuff, decides what's good and what's not good, and move it around to make it ready for sale. That's what a food hub is. It's essentially a distribution center re-envisioned so that small farmers that traditionally don't have access and local farmers that no longer have access to things like our state farmers markets, which were redone to use for international markets and things like that, have access to wholesale markets and institutional markets like UF and restaurants and things like that. It is not necessarily a grocery store. And so those things are kind of different. And I've heard the community in the conversations that your staff have had in our community talk about both things, about wanting both things, about wanting both the economic development opportunities, which makes perfect sense for CRA dollars, of a food hub that would provide our local farmers opportunities to access more markets and expand their markets, and a grocery store, which is much needed for our east side of access to healthy and nutritious food and easier access to other items as well. So I guess I just wanted to express dismay that somebody, especially those commissioners who constantly remind us how long things take, couldn't support us moving forward with something we actually already voted on in December of 2020. And I hope that you all will reconsider that at your GPC meeting. And I hope that in this instance you will include in your process for that RFP community engagement so that we make sure that this time around it doesn't fail for lack of community support. My other thing was I wanted to say to Mr. Blanc, who's gone, that I think we all expressed to UF Health that we did very much want to see primary care and expanded access to care as a part of their plan long term. And I'm excited to hear that Mayor Poe has heard from them that that is in their plans. I will say that the county is also, we've expanded our health department hours to provide better access to primary care. And we are going to be hearing, this is for the community mostly, from our staff and our health equity committee, which has been working hard to put together a proposal for community health workers, which I think are a critical need, both to follow up from primary care appointments, to support people who may be hesitant to come to primary care, to help educate and provide them with information about the kinds of support and access they have, and to evaluate the needs in our community so we make sure that we target any dollars that are spent appropriately to the right diseases, to the right needs of the community that we're trying to serve. And so I'm hopeful that once we get that proposal, we'll be able to go to UF Health, since they are anxious and desperate to do the right thing. And they will be willing to support the community health worker program when we hear it. But that'll be coming up soon. So I just wanted the community to know, and our neighbors over here at the city to know, that we'll be considering that soon. And I'm looking forward to that proposal from our staff.
Commissioner Chestnut?
Thank you. I think what I heard the mayor say on this particular issue, that we would bring it to the General Policy Committee, and the reason for that is because we've received an update on ARPA funding. It seems like every hour on the hour. And for some time, I haven't seen the funding for a grocery store because we have been trying to fund housing, trying to move our money into directly trying to provide housing. But because we haven't discussed it and I haven't seen that for some time, I think it was appropriate to take it back to the General Policy Committee, and then we can talk about it and see if we can find funding. I would like to see a grocery store as well, but I couldn't decide on a grocery store today on the spot because I know that the ARPA money has been earmarked and spent on housing and other issues.
And I'll just add one thing to that. An RFP is only as good as what is in it. And we need to make sure that whatever we put out brings us back the things that we want to eventually see, including all of the things that you just laid out, Commissioner, which we have not, as a commission, especially with a couple new commissioners, had that discussion. So to have a good discussion and make sure that the RFP goes out, that it aligns and augments with what the work that the county's doing is critically important. Because if we go out and spend a bunch of money and get a bunch of product back from that, whoever ends up getting the RFP, and it's the wrong thing, then we've just wasted a bunch of money and time, way more time. So that's all. Let's delay it a couple weeks so we make sure we put out the right RFP versus getting it wrong and having to really start over. And that's it. It's not anything more than that. Commissioner, is that Commissioner Ward? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very briefly, I would just remind everyone that the initial vote to invite a process for a grocery store was to set aside $3 to $5 million, I believe was the actual motion, and did not specify what funds it would come from. At one point, we said ARPA for one specific project that didn't happen. There are multiple ways to fund multiple things. There is still every intention of doing that, but doing it on the spot, on the fly, unnoticed, is not the right way to approach things. We have a lot on the table. We've put a lot on staff's table, an enormous amount on staff's table. And every time we have a meeting, we put more projects on staff's table. I know y'all don't do it that way, and I get it. But we have not taken it off the table as a project. Please allow our process to work. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all. Have a good night. I think, Madam Chair, no further business before us. We stand adjourned.
All right.